Good evening, everyone. This is a continuation of our meeting from earlier today, but we started at 5 p.m., but we moved here at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. And we've already done our roll call, so we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I'd now like to call on the mayor and our Councilman Brightwell for appointments.
Good evening, council. I have 3 appointments this evening, and the boards and commissions chair, Councilman Brightwell, has 2. I would like to call up Alvin Zaytuna and Giancarlo Williams. Dale Geyer is not able to be with us tonight. He is a reappointment. Dr. Geyer was not available. So Giancarlo
I would like to call up Mr. Evan Cunningham and Ms. Rita Turner.
Here comes Rita. Council, I am asking for your approval. We have a vacancy, an empty seat on the Downtown Development Authority Board, and I'd like to introduce Alvin Zaytuna to you this evening. Alvin is the vice president of one of our larger businesses in the DDA, the Universal Wholesale at 8 Mile and Northland Drive. As you know, the DDA board is made up of people who work or own businesses in the district. Then I also, we have a vacancy on the Public Arts Commission, and so Giancarlo Williams has stepped forward. Little interesting story about Mr. Williams. He lived in Southfield, contacted me a couple of years ago, wanted to get involved, and then had to move out of state, and he came back, and we're picking up where we left off. So anyhow, I would like to have your approval for these 2 appointments, and then Mr. Brightwell, if you want to do your appointment.
I would like to recognize Mr. Evan Cunningham as an appointee to our Service Commission board, and they've been obviously interviewed by the boards and commission, which is made up of Councilman Councilman Hicks and Councilwoman Haynes. And also I'd like to recognize Ms. Rita Turner, also to the Council on Senior Adults, and I'd like for your approval of those.
Through the chair,
Yes.
I move that we appoint Alvin Zaytuna to the Downtown Development Authority, that we appoint Giancarlo Williams to the Southfield Public Arts Commission, that we appoint Evan Cunningham to the Administrative Civil Service Commission, and that we appoint Rita Turner to the Commission on Senior Adults.
Support.
What about Dale?
Do you want to do the reappointment?
And I have the reappointment.
Yes, sir, okay. And also the reappointment of Dale Geyer, thank you.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Hicks, supported by Councilman Hoag, for the appointments and the reappointment as presented by the mayor and Councilman Brightwell. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I think I'll be sworn in first.
I always jump the gun.
Forgot about that.
Swear, actually, before you meet the council, you gotta be sworn in.
We can do this as a group. The commissions and the boards that you're going to be serving on have been named and voted upon by the council. So I just would like you, as you raise your right hand and you speak your name, we can do a group swearing. Would that be appropriate, Council President?
Yes.
Thank you. Please say your name.
Rita Turner.
Thank you. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution. Please repeat after me.
I solemnly support
Of the United States.
of the United States,
The Constitution of the State of Michigan.
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
And the City Charter of the City of Southfield.
and the City Charter of the City of Southfield,
And that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of my said board or commission
of my said board or commission
in and for the City of Southfield, County of Oakland,
in and for the City of Southfield and the County of Oakland,
and the State of Michigan,
and the State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Thank you and congratulations. I just need each one of you to sign the certificate.
Once you've signed, then you make the rounds and meet the council.
Thank you.
So, Evan, you're serving alternate. Mr.
Alvin,
Craig.
right?
Isn't it nice to meet you? All right.
Rita or Evan? I have Evan.
Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Turner? Okay, last but not least.
This is an opportunity to do a commercial for our boards and commissions. And on page 5 in your Southfield calendar, list all the boards and commissions that are in the city of Southfield. And it will list the occupants of those positions. And if you're interested in applying for one of these positions, you can find it here, or you can go on the city website and go to the tab, the pull-down tab that lists government, and you can pick you'll see all the descriptions of the various boards and commissions, and also you can pull up an application. And once you get your application, you can submit it online. But we definitely need individuals to fill all our boards and commissions. So thank you very much, and we'll definitely appreciate the two that we got tonight, and we look forward to more volunteers.
But there's an opening on the other side. What's your question? See you. Jim, Should we put it on the floor? We apologize for the, we have a technical glitch right now. Should we just do the presentations now, rather than communications? Oh, hold on. While we're waiting, if anyone is here for the single lot assessment public hearing because you received a notice that you may have an outstanding balance from the city for code enforcement or another type of violation, we do have our code enforcement department right outside the hallway, right outside the doorway in the hallway, that they're available to answer any questions or talk to you, to answer any questions or discuss your specific case prior to the public hearing. All right. Next, we move into our communications portion of our meeting. The City of Southfield, the Southfield City Council has established the following rules and procedure for all speakers. No speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official that is unrelated to the manner in which the officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official performs his or her duties. No person shall use abusive or threatening language towards any individual when addressing the city council. Any person who violates this section shall be directed by the presiding officer to be orderly and silent. If a person addressing the council refuses to become silent when so directed, such person may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by disrupting and impeding the orderly conduct of the public meeting of the city council, and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. The council may not provide responses to public comments during the meeting. If you have provided your contact information when you signed up for public communications, the city will provide a more formal response to you in the near future. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Our first speaker is Matthew D'Alessio.
Hello, my name is Matthew D'Alessio.
Can you move the mic?
Sorry?
Speak into the mic, please.
Hi, my name is Matthew D'Alessio. I live at 20260 Melrose Street. I've been a homeowner in Southfield for 4 years and have spent a significant amount of time and money improving my home. I'm currently in a difficult situation as my neighbor has created a constant and obvious public nuisance by allowing a tenant to run a commercial vehicle repair shop out of his garage and driveway in a residential area. This non-conforming activity has been going on for years, with activity at all times of the day and night, including after midnight. It has created a public nuisance due to all the traffic, strangers, noise, and burning. Over the past 2 years, I've provided code enforcement officials with substantial information and photographic evidence, but unfortunately those efforts have not been successful. I've approached the homeowner, who also lives there, and asked that he correct the problem. Despite all my efforts, the situation continues to worsen, and it interferes with my health, safety, and enjoyment of my property. Living next door to someone who's running a vehicle repair shop in a zoned residential area has resulted in constant traffic as well as strangers wandering around. I come home to vehicle repair work being done and strangers picking up and dropping off vehicles. Often, inoperable vehicles are being delivered by tow truck or are being dragged or pushed in for work. The noises, smells, and sights associated with auto repair are also present. Hammering Impact guns, welding, and grinding are common events that happen right next door. Random vehicles are constantly being shuffled and stored on site as they're being repaired, and oftentimes it looks like a junkyard with vehicles scattered all over the property, grass, and street. Recently, loud repair work was being done at midnight when I had guests over, and I had to call the police as they could not sleep. There have also been instances of trespassing and even some property damage. I've had people connected to the repair work drive onto my lawn and have had large commercial tow trucks use my property as turnaround. After asking the tow truck driver to leave my property, he then drove into my neighbor's mailbox, destroying it, and drove away. Code enforcement has said that my neighbor can do what he wants in his garage, but this isn't correct because even if my neighbor is doing some work in his garage on customer vehicles, he's still operating a non-conforming business for financial gain, which causes traffic, noise, and disruption in a zoned residential area. Automotive repair is confined to specific zones due to the large disruption it creates, and therefore has zero place in a residential street. The homeowner even admitted to an enforcement officer that repair activity was conducted on the property. However, despite that and all my documentation I have provided, no impactful corrective action has been taken. As a willing witness, I hope with the help of code enforcement, city council, and the courts that this nuisance can be dealt with quickly. By not correcting this violation of municipal codes and zoning, my property values are being reduced and my community is becoming an undesirable place to live. I ask all the members, would you want a automotive repair shop operating next door, and how is this acceptable in our neighborhoods? I'm available to discuss this further with any member of the staff or of the council. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Your time is up. We will talk with code enforcement and get back to you as well. Our next speaker is Robert Willis.
Thank you, Council and Mayor. My name is Robert Willis, 28435 Brooks Lane. I've been involved in Southfield matters for perhaps 35 years, and I'm speaking to you today as president of our subdivision, Twickenham subdivision. And to give you an idea of where we are, we border Bell Road on our west and 12 Mile Road on our northern border. I can recall moving to that community and seeing the pristine neighborhood, the well-kept islands, the structures that look like someone really cared about. I am now in a situation where, as president, it is my responsibility to at least understand what we need within our neighborhood. I've reached a point where our neighborhood can no longer, based on the dues that we're collecting, take care of the 5 structures that we have, the 2 islands that we have, and a couple of other spaces that we are required to take care of. And I recognize the city will always see it as a responsibility of that neighborhood. But one of the things that I am seeing is that every neighborhood is failing to meet that responsibility. And so I'm here to ask if there's a way that city can start focusing on preserving what I think is the structure of the city of Southfield. I am on Planning Commission, and I get to recognize the kind of work you do, making sure we have infrastructure, making sure business is solid, making sure the budget meets. But what I don't hear is ways to help us preserve the community itself. I purchased a house. When I bought my house, they thought, wow, you're paying a lot. Now it's probably the biggest bargain in the city. It's a great place to live, but I don't understand where we're going to maintain that kind of community value. So I'm here, I think, basically just to ask, to start looking at the neighborhood, to make sure we can build the neighborhood, make sure that my kids' kids can then have a place that they see as a proud place to live, a safe place to live, but one that looks good and that's supported by you. So I'm asking for your support that way, and I thank you. That's all the time I need. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Hoag, who's the chair of our neighborhood services, if they can bring that up at a future meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Harmon Gunther.
Good evening, Council. My name is Harmon Gunther, 19101 Green Spruce. I saw a disturbing article in the Free Press this Sunday about our judicial system. For a person that makes $147,000 a year, our judges are being paid by the system to go to Ghana, the Dominican Republic, and Dubai for council leadership training, which is on the website for free. Plus, the City Council has a meeting coming up, budget meeting, where they're going to enforce the council subsidizing these judges. I think it's about time that you cut the strings and let it's from the taxpayers to pay for these judges to take extravagant trips. If you haven't read the article, if you look it up in the Detroit Free Press from last Sunday. I have a copy with me if you would like to see it. And it's just outrageous that we are subsidizing them for these trips. Who's to say that the fines that they charge defendants, court costs and all that, are not going for these trips? That they're charging these defendants higher court costs and fines to live an extravagant lifestyle. They make a lot of money on our dime. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bernard Hooper. Okay. Our next speaker is Stacy Jackson.
Good evening, Stacy Jackson, Southfield resident. Hadn't planned to speak about this, but I absolutely sympathize with that first couple that came here as a new resident saying that there is basically a car mechanic shop operating outside of the next door neighbor's garage. I can sympathize with that because nearly 20 years ago, when my husband and I moved here, we learned 30 days later that there was a commercial charter bus company operating at the house behind us that took us years to fight and rally to get shut down and restore their backyard back to the environmental status of health and habitat. So I encourage this council to please do your due diligence to support that family because you have no idea of what that family might be facing with these strangers that are coming, that are dropping off their cars. It does present dangers for that family, particularly if they have words with the neighbor, okay? Secondly, I also come to this council to reiterate the need for you to stand, to use your voices, to seek funding, grant funding, to support your residents with the septic tank situation. I am growing increasingly concerned that other municipalities surrounding the city of Southfield are reaching out to their congresspeople, reaching out to their state reps, and being awarded 7-figure grants to help with pipe installations for their constituents and residents from their house to their city streets. It's a similar situation for Southfield, and I encourage you to reach out to your representatives and our congresspeople. It's important that you know that the folks that you report to are not the people on the sides of you. You have 70,000 people that support that you need to report to on that. And while we know that the newly elected, newly retained, and recently appointed might be new to this issue, the remainder of our council are not new to this issue. So I encourage you to do that. I do know that the city has a loan, if you will, that supports homeowners with these repairs. Please know that there is case law surrounding the city of Southfield, Chesterfield, other cities, where the state has said it's unconstitutional
for municipalities to specifically put septic tank sewer loans on a homeowner's water bill because it violates the Michigan's Supreme Constitution of the Heatley Act. You can't do anything to inflate a person's property taxes without it being put on a ballot. So there's already case law surrounding Southfield that this is unlawful. I encourage you to look into that. Find another way. There is grant funding there for infrastructure. Please seek it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Keith Harris.
How you doing today? My name is Keith Harris. Me and my wife, we both had a lot more to say than what, we kind of had to divert on some of the things we wanted to say. But I want to talk about a candidate that's running for Oakland County today. And the only two people up here I haven't went after is Mr. Hicks and Janet. But today, our city is in a lot of trouble. I'm going to tell you right now, I want y'all to keep a close eye on our mayor, Ms. Banks. Please beware of Wendy Webster, Dr. Wendy Webster. She's very unstable. I'm just going to be, she's been in my family for over 20 years and been nothing but a very violent nuisance. She's running against Lenny Taylor. The sad part about it, she's trying to make people believe that she related to Janet Jackson. She's doing everything in the world to try to make herself look related to you. She is a very sick person. And I'm going to say this, please. Like I said, she may be in my family, but we know what happened at that voting poll that day. I was in the hospital for over a year fighting COVID, had respiratory issues, had clots in my leg and my chest. And because I advocated against her, she attacked me at a very weak moment. Now, God knows, anybody who know me know, if I would have been in the best of my health, I would have probably strangled her to death. And I probably wouldn't have felt bad about it. But I'm here to try to tell you, please, people, please, stand together. When you find people like this run for office, please do a real background check on them. I'm going to put my evidence out there, put everything out there again to let you know that she is unfit to be over this county. She's unfit to work in this city. And I said it before, she's unfit to sit in a public restroom. This is a dangerous woman, and she's clinically undiagnosed. Just because she's a foot doctor, do you know how many doctors we have got? The doctor up in Michigan State who raped all those young ladies on the Olympic team, her status did not help her from her mental health issues. Please, people, please, when you see this woman coming, run. And I'm asking you, Ms. Banks, watch your back. Watch your back. When you see her coming, please tell her stay 6 to 8 feet away from you. And please, Mayor, tell her the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next and last speaker is Ronald James.
Good evening, Ronald James, Southfield resident. I just ask a question. How many liquor stores do we really need? 3 on the corner of 10 Mile and Southfield already, and that mall is being redone. Same thing with the weed dispensaries. Do we really need a weed dispensary? Yeah, weed is legal, alcohol is legal, but alcohol is sealed. And alcohol, when you buy a can of beer, you can't undo the can and then try to sell it. With them dispensaries you can. Who knows what they could put in that stuff. And the problem is it's aimed at us. It's aimed at our kids. We got to, you got a young couple come here complaining about these type of things, you got to look at it. We do not need another liquor store. We definitely don't need weed, okay? It adds no value to this community. I don't stand by myself on this. I don't stand by myself on this. The clergy should be here too, but, you know, they should be. Now, I think they should be, because it's going to affect their kids, their parishioners, you know. These kids, and maybe that explains the reason why those kids are dancing on that corner, because it makes black folks look poor and pitiful. And the poor and pitiful, it make us look, you know, then it's justified. Well, it doesn't justify it, but people see that and then they believe, oh, well, that's what they want. They want weed and they want liquor, okay? They don't do that in Dearborn. Dearborn right now has one of the best junior high schools, which means in a few years they're going to have one of the best high schools in the state. I wonder, could we say that? And I know this is not the Board of Education, but that rap music has damaged us to the point where our kids, you know, 90% of the, where I read that 90% of the Jewish kids go on to higher education. Can we say that? Can we say that? I don't think we could say that. And that's a problem. They don't have to worry about their kids going to college. They're going. Our kids got a problem. And that weed don't help. It don't help. The people who do Narcotics Anonymous, all of them will tell you this, a gateway drug. And black folks don't need it. We don't need to read no studies, because we are the study as far as that mess goes. And we need to be mindful when we put them 3 liquor stores on one intersection. Come on now. 3 liquor stores. Do we really need 3? Do we have enough people to support 3 liquor stores? And then you run into people that's been there for years. The one lady that's been there, or family, or whoever they are, been there for years, and the other person down here on 10 Mile. Do we need another liquor store? I don't think we do. I think a cap need to be placed on it, need to be considered on it, but definitely weed. You know, definitely weed. We don't need that stuff.
Your
And
time
if we
is
don't
up.
do something about it, who gonna do it? Ain't nobody gonna fix our problem for us. They're gonna move to West Bloomfield and everywhere else where they've been moving.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to again make an announcement that if you are here for the public hearing confirmation on the 2024 single lot assessments, a lead member for each city department that assessed the fine is currently present and can speak to you in the hallway prior to the public hearing, which we'll have in just a little while. Next up, we have 2 presentations by the mayor.
Mr. Bernard Hooper, to come to the podium. Mr. Hooper is the Chief Corporate Compliance Officer for Oakland Community Health Network. Thank you for being here. This evening, I'm presenting a resolution. There's been lots of comment and concern expressed about mental health. And so I'm presenting a joint resolution, council and mayor, on Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May of 2024. And whereas mental health includes our emotional, psychological, social, and well-being, it affects how we think, feel, act. It also affects how we handle stress related other excuse me, I'm having trouble reading this, and how we make choices. And whereas mental health is important for our individual well-being and vitality, as well as that of our families, communities, and businesses, and whereas Mental Health America, the State of Mental Health in America surveys ranks Michigan as 25th in the nation for the prevalence of mental illness and 20th in the nation for access to care. May 1st through May 31st is recognized as Mental Health Awareness Month. And again, the theme is where to start. Mental health is in a changing world. which highlights getting back to the basics, including self-care, coping skills, advocating for mental health, and not, knowing when to seek additional help. And whereas the Oakland Community Health Network, Mental Health Network, joins our national partners in promoting this year's Where to Start campaign, whereas improved systems of care for vulnerable populations, access to non-emergent and crisis services, advanced and integrated physical and behavioral health care, along with provider relations help is to fortify services coordinated by the Oakland County Health Network, Community Health Network. Whereas the health network and its service providers are committed to inspiring hope, empowering people, and strengthening communities. So now therefore be resolved that I, the mayor of the city of, and the city council of the city of Southfield, County of Oakland, state of Michigan, do hereby proclaim and recognize May 2024 as Michigan Mental Health Awareness Month in the city of Southfield, and calls upon citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, faith-based organizations, and schools to recommit to our increasing awareness and understanding of mental illness and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people. I'm asking for your adoption of this resolution.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve the presentation of the joint resolution as presented on Mental Health Awareness Month.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to accept the presentation of the joint resolution for Mental Health Awareness Month for May 2024. Council, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Hooper would like to say a few words, if you would allow him.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing me the time to speak with you. Oakland Community Health Network greatly appreciates leaders like you who partner with us in working against stigma and allowing people to understand the importance of mental health within our communities, within our lives, within our day-to-day activities, as this is an issue that touches each and every one of us. Oakland Community Health Network is contracted with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to provide services to approximately 29,000 individuals in Oakland County, individuals who have diagnosis including intellectual and developmental disabilities, severe mental illness, and substance use disorder. We work very diligently with our resources to oversee a network of providers in Oakland County that provide over 400 different locations where an individual can walk in and receive the service that they need. As was stated in the resolution, we are looking at a number of different alternatives for our future, and we have 5 priorities that we are pushing aggressively to achieve. And those priorities include having additional access for individuals, having access for individuals with respect to non-emergent situations, as well as those which would constitute walk-in situations but not yet crises, which is critical for our system. And also working aggressively to integrate physical and mental health services so that a person can live their best life in their community with an understanding of what they want and their goals for themselves, and to allow them to live a fuller and happier life. We greatly appreciate your support in this, and again, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Have a good evening.
The next resolution is not mine. I believe it's Mr. Ryan's.
Good evening, everyone. I present for the council council's approval a resolution, the annual resolution in recognition of National Public Works Week, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of valid importance to sustainable and resilient communities, and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Southfield, Michigan, and whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and in the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the clients, civic leaders, and children in Southfield, Michigan to gain a knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of importance of public works and public works programs in their respective community. And one more whereas, the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association / Canadian Public Works Association. And be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of Southfield, county of Oakland, state of Michigan, does hereby designate the week of May 19th to the 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the mayor and the council of the city of Southfield, county of Oakland, state of Michigan, do hereby recognize all of the services that the city of Southfield Department of Public Works provides, and we collectively urge all citizens to join with the representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Dated this 6th of May, 2024.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve the joint resolution on National Public Work Week as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to approve the presentation of the joint resolution on National Public Works Week. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I do want to add a personal opinion, and of all the municipalities I have worked for, you folks are the most receptive and helpful to Public Works, and our crews appreciate all of your support, and thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Ryan, I'll add on behalf of the mayor and city council that we do appreciate the work that Public Works does for us in the city.
Thank you very much. I will tell them that.
Thank you. All right, council, next we have consent agenda. These are items that are considered routine, non-controversial, or have previously been discussed. Are there any items that anyone would wish to have pulled for further discussion? Yes, Councilman Hicks?
C, F, and I.
F and I. Okay. So item C is the agreement between Oakland County Tactical Training Consortium and the City of Southfield. We have some, I believe, is it Lieutenant Taylor and our training officer, Dan Rustum, here. Go ahead and ask your question.
So just for me to give a little high-level overview, for all the items that I named, I'm in support of. So my only question is when I look at the report as written, there's no fiscal impact to the city. But I know that you all are going to participate in some form in meetings and other things. So my only ask is to have some kind of a high level. There is fiscal impact because you all are participating in this, taking you away from other day-to-day activities?
There are meetings with the OTAC group, however, I believe it's once a month, if that, and it's usually one member from our department during the work.
In service.
In service, and it's a very short meeting. It's not an all-day event.
Okay. That was it for that one.
Okay. Thank you. All right. You guys can appreciate that. And then I'll ask our technology director, Renee, for your next question on the data center UPS.
So I apologize, Renee. I got to the study session a few minutes late and missed this one. But my question is, when I read the report, it indicated that the item that was chosen or being proposed, according to the chart, the 5-year extended warranty was not an option. It said NA on the chart. But as I read the narrative, it said that the dollar amount included the UPS plus a 5-year warranty. So I'm just
Correct.
trying to make sure.
The item that, when the choice that we received included a 5-year warranty on it.
Okay, but when I look at the chart and it has a column that says option 2, 5-year extended warranty, it says not available.
It's because they already put it in the base model,
Okay.
which they didn't have to add it into the second option.
Gotcha. So you just clarified. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't reading this incorrectly.
Correct.
You clarified. Thank you, sir.
Right, thank you. And then our fire chief for the cement replacement at stations 4 and 5.
Yeah, so this really is not for the chief necessarily. It might be more from Mr. Zorn, possibly. My question center, in a previous life, I worked for another county. And so I worked with a lot of municipalities. And in a presentation a few weeks ago, it was shared that the vision was for several of our fire stations to be remediated and/or replaced. So my question is what overall, because I know that some departments have sought grant funding for a variety of things. For capital improvements, do we have anybody in administration that's proactively looking at how do we go after and seek capital improvement grants to make the vision's reality of building new fire stations, so that as we're putting Band-Aids or remediating portions of the fire station, giving them the real tools they need to do their job is the goal, not just for them, but for the city. What are we doing to comprehensively go after grant funding for, especially our major capital improvements like the pool, the fire stations, police, all kind of public safety? Have we gone down that pathway before?
When we start talking about these large capital improvements and in particular facilities, that was the focus of what our facility studies was in 2022. And I've said repeatedly, our capital costs, and I'll use this municipal campus, about $160 million in assets. We need another $4 to $6 million a year. When those grant opportunities come along, we do go after them. But for, our police and our fire department, those grant opportunities are usually in response to something that's happening in the country. After 9/11, we saw a major reinforcement as to what was happening and funding monies coming to NEPA. I mean, the department monitors what grants are available. When they're available, we do go after them. The Michigan legislature does, from time to time, we'll get these opportunities for one ask things. I think Dearborn Heights recently got a large amount to replace a fire station that had failed. That $10 million was a little bit larger than what we saw most communities get. Tonight we'll be acting on an item pertaining to Denzel Drive and Winter Foster Drive. Those are examples of one-time ask. But when funding opportunities come, we go after them. I'll say things, let's talk about, another good example is probably water and lead. In response to the lead crisis, Michigan puts in place some of the toughest lead standards. We see the feds respond in their infrastructure bill with those items. But in Southfield's case, we as we go through that analysis, we realize we've been replacing those lead lines way before others. So when those opportunities come along, the departments bring their grants forward and we seize them. But this was part of the conversation in the second infrastructure bill that Congress did not pass. It was to take on broader things because we see it in our school districts. Very few communities have the generosity of what Southfield taxpayers have put in to their system. But across the country, our suburban communities are struggling with replacing some of their physical infrastructure. And if you look at like the building we're in, a lot of this money was EDA money, Economic Development Administration, in response to the 70s. You haven't seen those types of dollars coming into local governments in years. So when, we have been very fortunate the last year with again, another crisis, the COVID crisis, drove money coming in to local government and county governments in amounts most of us have never seen in our careers. Even having been here during the Great Recession in 2009, the response of what we've got was a fraction of what we got through COVID. But we worked through different buckets of money, different programs to bring those dollars in. But I think you're hitting on a much larger issue. We've done a real good job here with replacing our vehicles and our equipment through our equipment revolving loan. But our brick and mortar, that's one of our largest challenges.
So thank you for that background, and maybe this may be unpopular, but I know that we want to give our teams the tools to be successful. So I think we need to have some conversation on how do we make the vision reality to address the things that we know we need, but may not have the money to support. So I'm not sure if that's another study session discussion to kind of better understand what the approaches or the goals are to address some of these capital improvements. So,
Okay.
that was it for me.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Any other items that need to be pulled for further discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve consent agenda item A, authorization to sign a 4-year lease with Lawrence Tech for Oakland County, Michigan Works Southfield office. B, authorization to renew 5-year Oakway Mutual Aid Association interlocal agreement. C, the interlocal agreement between Oakland County Tactical Training Consortium and the City of Southfield. D, purchase of portable radio shoulder mics for new county Motorola radio system. E, the purchase of point-blank ballistic vests for the police department. F, receipt of proposals for the data center. G, resolution of support for Southfield DDA's application to become a Main Street allied community. H, resolution of support for implementation of the Ground Emergency Medical Transportation Program in Michigan. I, receipt of proposals for fire stations 4 and 5 pavement replacement. J, identity and access management. K, replacement of Cisco switches. L, authorization to purchase a replacement bucket truck for the 4th Street Division. M, authorization to purchase Big Belly recycling bins. D, to authorize submission of the MDOT Michigan Shared Streets and Spaces Grant Program application for funding of bus stop improvements. O, Civic Center Drive Street Light Upgrade Revised DTE Agreement and Engineering Services. And P, approval for reconstruction of Forest Winter Drive.
Support.
It has been, the motion was made by Councilman Hoag, supported by Councilman Haynes, to approve consent agenda items A through P. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we will move on to the one public hearing we have for the evening, and that is our single lot special assessment roll hearing and confirmation. And we will open up with our city assessor.
Good evening. Before you tonight, I have a request to hold a public hearing and confirm the 2024 single lot special assessment roll. Section 1.13 of the City Code of Ordinances mandates the procedure for assessing certain costs incurred by the city for various services, loans, or other fees assessed by each city department. When these costs are not paid, they shall become a lien on the property and placed on the summer tax bill for collection by the city treasurer. The costs can include single lot special assessment loans, property transfer affidavit fines, city center special assessments, street lighting fees, corrective actions from code enforcement, return check fees, sewer tap permits, and others. Currently, there are 756 delinquent charges totaling $345,556.80 for 2024. These charges are down from last year by about $193,000. And I've included a 6-year history in your packet for reference. I ask that council now hold a public hearing for the purpose of confirming the 2024 single lot special assessment roll, and any property owner that has an assessment on this roll can be heard regarding their objections to the costs. We ask that you limit your objections to the validity of the charges levied upon your property.
All right, thank you. We will now hold a public hearing for this 2024 single lot special assessment. And again, remind everyone that wishes to speak that the comment during the public hearing should be limited to contesting the validity of the charges being added as a lien to the property for collection on the 2024 summer taxes. Don't all come at once. All right, seeing no one coming to the podium, the public hearing is now closed. Council, do you have any questions? Yes, Councilwoman Banks.
To our city assessor, I would just like to say thank you for providing the graph and the totals, the way it was displayed this year. It just gives an overall look at the past 5 years, and I personally really appreciate it, so thank you.
Yeah.
And then, so tomorrow if somebody says, oh, I want to come and pay this fine or this lien, pay off the lien, they can come back tomorrow and they would go to the
They can
city
pay it
clerk's
off
office?
prior. They should come to the assessors in the treasurer's office.
Okay.
Pay the fee.
Right. Council, any other questions? All right, I just need it.
Being that there are no objections heard, I ask that you approve the resolution for the 2024 single lot special assessment roll and authorize the assessor to direct the treasurer to add these amounts to the 2024 summer tax bill for collection.
Mr. President?
Thanks.
Yes.
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to approve the single lot special assessment roll as presented. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right. Next are agenda items for discussion and/or action. And the first is a receipt of bids for North Park Drive reconstruction and water main improvements. If there's not enough construction around the city already.
Yeah, we get to add to the construction chaos, but we're getting the roads fixed, right? Okay, so Southfield has received 2 bids from our pre-qualified contractors for the reconstruction of North Park Drive as well as water main replacement along North Park Drive. The road's to be rebuilt with 9 inches of concrete. We're going to maintain the boulevard cross-section, but with a couple changes to crossover locations just to improve some safety, some traffic safety items along the corridor. We'll also be making some drainage improvements, and then sidewalks will be extended through the driveway approaches so that we have full ADA compliance on our sidewalk network there. Regarding the water main work, the existing 16-inch water main will be replaced with a 12-inch water main that is noted in the item. I just wanted to make mention of it. The city does have a water model, so we did run the reduction in the water main through our model, and it did still pass all the tests. It didn't really affect the pressures at all in the area. It did have a minor impact to the fire flows, but they're still well within the recommended practices for fire flows in that type of area with that building construction. So the total cost of the project, which includes 15% for inspection and testing and 10% for contingencies, is approximately $4.1 million. Funds for the road construction costs are available in our Major Street Land Improvements account and will be fully reimbursed from a fiscal year 24 Michigan Economic Development Corporation grant, which we got from the state. Funds for the water construction costs are available in the Water and Sewer Bond Land Improvements account. So we are asking you to adopt the attached resolution, which awards the project to Paymar Enterprises.
Council, any questions? Councilman Brightwell?
Ms. Schultz, I'm for this project, and I don't have anything with it, but I think historically, once or twice in the past, I'm always curious about all these contingencies and fees that we tack on, these dollars that we tack on for unforeseen circumstances, all that.
Right.
Can you, without too much difficulty, and this is a pure finance question, just tell me or tell council or whatever, how much is not spent? Because when people know when people know there's money out there, they would just spend money to go to that level of expenditure because it is approved, and sometimes when things are approved, people never look at it again. But is it a big task, or for you to just let us know what was turned back in and not spent?
No, that is something we could put together for council. That's something that should come to the Finance Committee meeting or the full city council.
Well, you could start with the Finance Committee. I'm not chair anymore, but you can start there. But I would like for the whole council to be aware of how much money is actually being spent, returned back to the city, because that will let us know that that's a good use of funds. We have employees who are they watch the money just as closely as we do as a fiduciary for the city's funds.
Yeah, and these funds, whether it's the road funds or the water main funds, so we don't encumber the funds for that full 10% contingency. So we open up a purchase order for that low bid amount, and it's only increased if there is justified cost increase on the job because of some unforeseen site conditions. So sometimes things are going well and we hardly use any contingencies at all, and other times we're coming pretty close to that 10%. So it's kind of all over the board. But certainly with our road funding in particular, it's like we're very prudent in making the decisions, because any money that council authorizes that doesn't end up getting spent, that goes back, that we can fix more roads. It becomes available, so it carries over.
Yeah, and that gets into the, the productivity of employees, and there's actually a formula for that, and when you start looking at, certain levels of finance. But if without too much difficulty, if you could ratchet up that number and just let us know, whatever.
So you're asking that we come back to show like some completed projects that we've done and where we were with the use of contingency money? Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. To me, that's a good barometer of the effectiveness of our employees and the effectiveness of our bidding and, or, calculating how much these things are going to cost.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, council?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve and award the North Park Drive Reconstruction and Water Main Improvements Project to Palmar Enterprises of New Haven, Michigan for the bid of $3.2 million.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilman Hicks, to approve the bid for North Park Drive reconstruction and water main improvements as presented. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the receipt of bids for the Sherwood Village West water main and road improvements.
Yes, so Southfield has received 3 bids from our pre-qualified contractors for this neighborhood project. Sherwood Village, we completed Sherwood Village East last year. This is the west half of the Sherwood Village subdivision, where we are completing water main replacement work as well as repair of the existing concrete roads. The total cost of this project, including the 25% for inspection, testing, and contingencies, is just under $4.3 million, and funds are provided by our road bond, land improvement account, as well as our water and sewer bond fund. We do like to point out with these neighborhood projects, the level of investment on a per parcel basis is approximately $30,000 per parcel for this particular water main and road project. So we are asking that council award to Paymar Enterprises for their low bid for the Sherwood Village West subdivision water main and road improvement project.
Council, do you have any questions?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we award the Sherwood Village West subdivision water main and road improvements also to Palmar Enterprises of New Haven for an amount, including contingencies, of $4.3 million.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to approve the receipt of bids for the Sherwood Village West water main and road improvement as presented. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And
Thank you.
Ms. Schultz, I do appreciate putting in the dollar amount per home,
Yeah.
because I think it helps the homeowners going through the construction season right in front of their home to help to know
Right.
how much money is being spent.
Gives you some perspective.
Yes.
On a per lot basis. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next we have a presentation and discussion regarding a proposal to operate a fence contractor's office with an ancillary showroom and storage on 8 Mile between Inkster and Beach.
Good evening. The petitioner is Superior Fence. The property is located at 26650 West 8 Mile Road. Zoning is I-1 industrial. They'd like to operate a contractor office with ancillary showroom and storage. There was a previous contractor that was there during COVID, and it's been vacant for over a year. Therefore, we have to come back for special land use. The proposed hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and they currently have 3 employees with the potential of adding 1 additional full-time. As I stated, it has an I-1 industrial. It is consistent with our future land use. There is an existing building. At the time that the previous contractor had come in, we did an administrative review, and the site was upgraded with landscaping and bike racks, pedestrian connectivity. The contractor, being in the fencing business, does plan on adding a higher-end fence around the site. The only thing that will be stored outside are their commercial vehicles. They'd like to have that fenced in. There's no real significant changes to the building or the site other than upgraded fencing. With that, I'd like to invite the architect and the proprietor to come up and make any comments and answer any questions that the council may have.
Good evening. Zaid Arable from ZA Design, representing Superior Fence, to my left.
Good evening, my name is Tiffany Buell.
Darren Engel.
So Terry pretty much said it all. It's existing building in pretty good shape, landscaping is in great shape, parking lot is also in great shape. And we're just proposing to put a fence, a 6-foot-high fence, with the posts being concealed behind the fence. We have a sample here with us we can present for you tonight. Across the front, just behind the front door, just so to safeguard the property at nighttime. A couple of trucks maybe outside that have material inside of them. They're keeping the actual material all inside the building. 80% of the building is open space for storage, basically. A small portion will be dedicated to offices and restrooms and a break room. Other than that, we really are not proposing much of a change, and we're seeking approval, of course.
Do you have the sample of the fence?
Yes.
I saw you bring it in. If there's any questions that I can answer, this will be...
Are you currently at this location, or you're looking to move in?
They're looking to move in, correct.
Yeah, it's been vacant for over a year at least.
Where are you currently located?
We are currently located over by Telegraph and 5 Mile in Redford.
You can just put it right on the fence. Right on. Yeah. So what's nice about this is, on both sides, is a more finished appeal than what you would typically find with a fence on post detail. And there is a residence that's located as part of this L shape, so that would provide some additional screening here.
Council, do you have any questions for the petitioner? Yeah.
So is that like a plastic or a vinyl material? Very attractive. Thank you.
Okay, well, I had a similar question, so I guess as a sales pitch, how is that different than the white vinyl? Or is it the same product?
It's the same chemistry, same product, different color. The extrusion is done slightly different. We extrude the color, the striation of the product.
It's a heavier grade though, right, than the residential?
It is heavier.
It's a heavier commercial grade and it's double-sided.
This is a real, we just created a Barbie doll. It's literally a smile.
And what council will be reviewing at the public hearing in a couple of weeks is just a special land use application. The site plan, which is really a fence application, will be done administratively. But we want you, since they're in the fence contracting business, we want you to see their product.
So is this the fence that will be around the property?
Initially, the intent will be to put this across
The front of the building.
the front to close, to secure the parking lot. It's a big piece of property. There's an existing wood shadow box that completely surrounds, with the exception of the parking lot space. Right now, we will eventually replace that. Right now, we're kind of debating whether we actually want to do that in vinyl or do it in a precast masonry product.
And one of the things we do whenever there's a gate is coordinate with police and fire that they have emergency access. So a lockbox or some other provision. That's part of why we do the review.
So the way the fence is going to be composed in the front, there'll be a 4-foot swing door, correct? But where the sidewalk is to walk from front to back. And there'll be roughly a 13-foot sliding gate. The rest will be fixed. It'll all look uniform in the front. It's going to be hard to tell where the swing door is and the slider, but that's how it's going to, that's basically the way it's going to be designed.
Okay. Thank you. Councilwoman Hoag?
Yeah, can you, where's this at again? I can't picture it.
On 8 Mile between Beach next year.
Beach?
The location, the location of the property or the fence is going to be?
The property.
The property.
Across from the bread basket?
Literally.
Across from where?
Bread Basket across from that place.
Oh, I didn't go further.
Delaware Street is the
Okay.
closest local street.
Okay, so that building is kind of moving and ready, and so when customers come, do they walk the back lot or where, are your customers coming in to?
There's, yep, if you can show the floor plan. Kind of, can you see that bottom right? That's the door where customers can come in from. Just to the right of that door, which is south side of the property, is where the fence is going to be.
Okay.
So customers will be able to walk in and they'll see
Well,
the
I'm
fence.
glad we're stealing you from Redford, so thank you. That's all I have.
Is it over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you,
No, the other one, Terry. Yep.
Over here?
Just behind that door to the right. That's
Yeah.
where the fence is just going to go right across.
Right.
It's going to touch the other fence.
So there's a pedestrian connection that'll have pedestrian access to this door, and then the fence will come across here.
I pass by that and I just don't notice it, but when you put the fence up, I'll notice it.
You'll notice it when that goes up.
The customer entrance
Okay.
we would expect would actually be the door that faces 8 Mile. So they park there, walk down the sidewalk.
Is it this one here? Okay,
And that would be the office side.
okay.
All right, Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah, is this primarily a modernization and beautification of this location? I'm trying to figure out.
Well, it's an industrial zone, so it's a use that's not related to manufacturing.
Okay.
A contractor's yard requires a special land use. The site was previously updated by the previous contractor, but they've been vacant for over a year, so they're required to have a special land use, because you're basically saying contractor's office is permitted in an industrial zone that's not manufacturing. So the site's been upgraded. They're just, because they're in the fencing contracting, they're adding this as an aesthetic and also for security. And that's the only real improvement to the outside that needs to be done.
Okay, and I think you hit on it right. From my vantage point, it's definitely aesthetic-wise, and it's a beautification or modernization, and security, it just meet all the common sense things you want to do with property. But anyway, I'm going through that no-brainer kind of conversation. Okay. All right.
Okay, Council, any other questions? All right, so this will come back to us in 2 weeks on the 20th for the special use request. All right, thank you.
Good night.
Next, we have a discussion and presentation regarding a proposal to reconstruct and expand an existing gas station to include the addition of beer, wine, liquor, and a carry-out restaurant on Greenfield Road and 13 Mile Road.
Yes, this is a proposed special land use site plan by MAB Real Estate. The property is located at 30835 Greenfield at the corner of 13 Mile. Existing zoning is B3. They propose to construct and operate a gas station with beer, wine, and liquor sales and a carry-out restaurant. Hours of operation Monday through Thursday, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 5 a.m. to 12 a.m. They currently have 5 employees. They have a potential of 9 to 14 employees. Maximum per shift is 2 to 4 employees. Site has proper zoning. They're actually purchasing the building to the south. They're going to tear down and rebuild and expand and create a C-store gas station here, new canopy and landscaping throughout the site. Here's a colorized version. So they're going to reorient the gas pump canopy. They currently have a very small service area, and then they're going to purchase the existing building and expand that out on the site. They're going to create a small outdoor seating area that's also going to include patio and a piece of artwork, and do some beautification around the site, clean up the parking, relocate the dumpster further away from existing residents. This is the interior layout, building elevations, and then here's a conceptual rendering of the two and a half story C-store mini mart that they're proposing. And there's indication of a piece of art at the outdoor seating area. And with that, I'd like to ask the petitioner and his team to come up and make some further comments of their proposal.
Good evening, Sam Bacall, address 30835 Greenfield Road, Southfield.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Not at this point unless you have any questions.
Council, any questions? Yeah. Councilman Banks?
Thank you. First of all, this is a tremendous improvement to that corner. I think this is probably the smallest gas station that we have in the city of Southfield.
Probably.
So this is definitely going to be an improvement to the entranceway to our city. The planner talked about public art that was possibly going to be placed in this area. Since this is the entranceway to our city, it would be nice to see like one of our signs, "Welcome to Southfield." I don't know if he can replace maybe the public art with a "Welcome to Southfield" piece, or maybe even two, one on the Greenfield side and...
Yeah, through the chair to Ms. Banks.
Yes.
We earlier had a conversation. We're going to try to incorporate a corner knee wall with a "Welcome to the City of Southfield" sign on the corner and give him some credit towards the art requirement. He still would like to do the art piece. We don't want to spend his money needlessly. So we're going to work together to see if we can shift some landscaping and some other site amenities to make that happen. I have one of our consultants that is going to do a rendering of that corner piece, because we have to maintain corner clearance, so it can't be over 30 inches. But I'm thinking a knee wall about 30 inches high with a limestone cap, and the brick and the limestone would match the building. So if you see, it's approximately the same height to the windowsill is brick with a limestone cap. We would incorporate something similar on the corner that says "Welcome to the City of Southfield." So that's what we're going to work through on this project.
And being familiar with that corner, I don't see why it has to be on the corner. It could be set back a little bit also, because, you know, I don't know if there's any room on the Greenfield side, but on the Mile Road side, it looks like there is room. And a lot of our signs, I mean, we have various "Welcome to Southfield" signs. They're on the poles. There's a lot of different options that...
Right, and we're going to try to come up with something creative that works also with our branding.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully
Okay.
we could do both of them.
Okay, thank you.
That was a good idea.
So just to piggyback off that, if you go to the corner of 12 Mile and Coolidge by Berkeley, there's a gas station there, but it's on the non-gas station corner. They have a small masonry wall with, I think, a "Welcome to Berkeley" sign that, again, could be branded for Southfield if
I
that.
believe they have a downtown district that says Downtown Berkeley.
But, okay, you're familiar with that one. But every time I pass by, I notice it, even though it's low to the ground and on the brick.
Right.
So that may be something else to.
And we have some examples from other communities.
Yeah.
The difference might be the DDA may have paid for that versus what we're asking our petitioner, but we're going to try to be fair and reasonable to him and make it work.
Thank you.
Council, do you have any other questions? This is going to put you out of commission if you're rearranging the pumps. How long do you plan for the entire construction period?
Hopefully we could work on the building that we purchased south of us before closing down the existing business. And as soon as we get close to finishing the building, we could knock our building and reconfigure the pumps. Hopefully we will be down no more than 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months.
That's
Wow.
our goal. Hopefully, we could get it done faster.
Okay, so I'm looking at this picture. That building that you bought to the south will be the new C-store?
Yes. The entire C-store is going to be inside that building after we do the addition. Right now, it's an L shape. We're going to.
Yeah, if you look up here through the chair, the existing building's an L shape.
Yeah, I
So
remember
they're
when we
gonna
rezoned that
fill-
for the
They're gonna fill.
real estate.
They're gonna fill this portion in, and they're gonna square it off here. So it's about almost doubling in size, and as well as the height.
So what will be on the second story?
That one's going to be strictly storage, office and storage.
Are you gonna have an open air atrium as part of that?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
It's going to be on top of portion of the back room, portion of the restaurant, and we're going to have a lift in that back room, so just to put some storage upstairs.
Okay. Yeah, I know this, I think this project will be a nice improvement to that corner, as it is an entranceway to the city, so. Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah. Say, the building you acquired, is that law firm that went out of
Yes,
business?
it's been vacant for probably almost a year now.
Yeah, okay, yeah, they went out with a big bang. No, I'm in agreement, it'd be a nice addition to that corner and gateway to the city, part of the gateway to the city.
So again, this will come back on the 20th for a public hearing.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have a presentation and discussion to create and develop 2 commercial outlots in front of 29777 Telegraph.
This is the existing Onyx building located at the corner of Franklin Road and southbound Telegraph Road. Currently, it's zoned ERO M Education Research Office. Proposed zoning is Overlay Development District with underlying B3, and they're going to eliminate some of the more contentious uses that would be allowed in B3. They'd like to develop 2 commercial outlots, parking in front, and make some additional improvements to the site to help with employee retention. These are current permitted uses, and what they're proposing is to eliminate funeral homes, gas stations, restaurants with drive-through, executive, administrative, pawn shops, homeless shelters, sexually oriented business, cabarets, medical marijuana provisioning, and adult use marijuana retailers. This is similar to what is happening just to the south. You recently saw the Panda Express come in as an out parcel, and there's an overabundance of parking. So they're proposing two separate outbuildings to the north and south, and then a pedestrian pickleball court, pedestrian connection to a pickleball court that's going to be available to their employees. They have a north phase, a south phase, and then these are some concept renderings of 2-story retail office on the site with layout, floor plan, some building elevations. And this is, they'll make some significant improvements to the landscaping as well as the corner plaza they're going to create at the corner of Franklin and Telegraph Road. Improved bus stop with a shelter and pedestrian connections throughout the site. So with that, I know the architect is here. If you want to come up and talk about a little more details. This is the retail out parcel concept plan.
Good evening. Mike Pizzola, Design House Architecture, 3300 Auburn Road, Auburn Hills, Michigan. Just to add a little bit, the owners came to us about a year or so ago after COVID with some of their employees.
Can you speak into the mic?
Sorry, slowly getting back into the
You can
office.
lift it. There you go.
They noticed recently that the parking lot is at least a third vacant at all times during the day, at night, all times, and that's just, they feel that's an extremely wasted use of space. So they came to us and we did a parking analysis, and we determined that with these two new uses that we could still sustain an acceptable level of parking for the existing use. That being said, it will be the corner restaurant, the north building will be met, and south building will be met fully parked, leaving about one space per 333 gross square feet of floor area for the office. We feel that's, in planning, feel that's a more than acceptable level. Currently, the building is probably about 70% occupied, and they have about 400, maybe I think about 440 key swipes per day on average. So there's significant room for reevaluation of the existing space, which this project is all about. And also to help, well, as far as with the ODD incentive, they're also proposing the modest corner pocket park with the art. That park is directly adjacent to a bus stop, and we feel that it would be a good transition to the restaurant use at the corner, the far north corner, with people coming and going from the transit use, with the transit use. Also, the bike racks will be provided for all three phases, or all three buildings. And to help get tenants back into the current tenants back into the building, they're also would like to, as part of this proposal, a pickleball court with key card access for employees of the building.
So this is a trend that we've seen with some of our older, larger, more vacant office buildings, is to breathe new life in. And many of them have done employee surveys. They want restaurants and amenities within walking distance. Telegraph Road is not the most hospitable for walking, so if you can eliminate some of the excessive parking and get some higher density, more infill, helps with the tax base, and it helps to encourage employees to come back into the office. And we've seen this successfully done on a couple other larger office sites.
Councilman Haynes?
So with the pickleball, is that going to be operated during the time of working hours, or, and if not, is there some lighting that's going to have to take place for nighttime? How's that going to work?
So far, it'd be for working hours, but there's several hundred businesses and several businesses within the building itself. No new proposed lighting, but there's ample parking lot lighting, which should be sufficient to light that area.
So is it going to be open use or just like recreational?
Well, it's going to be key card access only for employees.
Okay.
So it's an amenity for existing employees.
Just curious about the operation. Also with the retail, have you decided on the restaurants that will be there?
Nothing yet. There has been some interest of some national chains, but nothing confirmed yet. But we're understanding that any changes will be updated as soon as we hear anything different.
And if I could, I mentioned this when we were looking at Panda Express. Telegraph Road, with the amount of traffic, it's also about the household income of the people traveling that corridor. That Telegraph 12-mile corridor is one of the most desirable areas for retail and other businesses to locate. So it scores very high. So we don't feel that there'll be a problem leasing those spaces.
It's a nice building, nice area there. Sure. Okay, that's all I have.
Councilman Banks?
Will these be fast food restaurants or sit-down restaurants?
One will have a drive-through. The far northern unit will have a drive-through, and the southern second unit will just be sit-down. But they both will have sit-down capability.
Thank you.
Councilman Brightwell?
Terry, you mentioned there were other, you're aware of other places that had something similar, and it was
Well, the complex just to the south had a Starbucks, and recently council approved the Panda Express new model. It's almost a mirror image of this site, large office building with a lot of vacant parking. And then there's a couple others that we've seen out parcel. The old Plant Moran building was utilized the overlay development district, and they've got 2 potential out parcel developments there. We saw the former AT&T building that was used for storage that has out parcel development proposed adjacent to 8 Mile. And we're looking at the former Raleigh Center and some of the other larger Friedman. This is Friedman Associates, Mike?
Yes.
So they're in the business of staying occupied, and this is a trend that they're seeing, and they have a lot of connections to the retail and other markets to help boost these older offices that are struggling because people are only coming in 1 to 2 days a week. So by giving them more amenities and more reason to come in, they're seeing that. And this strategy, the closest example is across the street at the Tower office development. That strip center that was developed that has the smoothie shop and the chicken place, that was a direct response to the tenants wanting more amenities within walking distance.
Okay, so you say it works?
Yeah, we've seen it successfully work.
Okay.
Councilwoman Haynes?
Okay, again, is there outside seating, like benches? Will there be that? And also, is there outside dining?
Yeah, I mean, when they have a specific user, there are areas designated for outsourced seating, but when they have a specific user, we'll do an admin review of those.
Okay. Sounds nice.
Council, anything else? Okay. Well, we will see you back
On the 20th.
on the 20th as well. And hopefully there's no other questions at that point, but we'll have a public hearing on that date. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike.
All right, and then our last item for discussion and presentation is a proposal to construct a multiple-family residential development with supportive services on the south side of Hooper Boulevard, west of Berg Road.
Thank you. Our final planning item for discussion. Get to the right slide here. Is a proposed residential unit development district for Hooper and Berg. There's several parcels that have been compiled. Existing zoning is R2 residential. We're utilizing the RUDD toolbox to construct 2 4-story apartment buildings, 60 apartments total, and 4 2-story attached townhome buildings, 12 townhomes total. Existing is R2 residential. Future land use is moderate density residential. 10 years ago, as the not-for-profit was starting to assemble property in this Hooper area, Planning Department prepared the Valley Woods Senior Campus Community Revitalization Plan, foreseeing sometime in the future that there would be a higher density development, support of the McDonald Towers and other projects in the area, and taking full advantage of the pastoral green space of the Rouge Corridor, as well as some wooded wetland lots on the site. And we were looking at Concept B, Mr. Zorn, today, and how close the scale and size of what we envisioned at the time and how close it is today. So this has been part of a planning process for 10 years. It's been incorporated in our last 2 master plans. This is the existing site. All the parcels that are being developed are currently vacant or wooded. And this is a colorized rendering of the 2 4-story buildings with the 4 attached townhouse. The just over an acre of wooded wetland will be put in a conservation easement to not be developed at all. And a small sliver of property on the top of the slope of the Rouge River will be left with the not-for-profit to build a pathway that's accessible down to the Rouge corridor. It's part of our Rouge Greenway. Hooper Boulevard will receive some improvements, and a 8-foot wide sidewalk will be developed on the south side connecting to Berg Road, and some of the pedestrian and public transit stops along there. This is a proposed close-up of the site plan, building floor plans, and the petitioner will get into more details. But ultimately, here's a rendering of the proposed 2 4-story apartment buildings with ornamental fencing and all the other landscape improvements that include a dog park, playground, and conservation easement. And these are the building elevations for the townhomes at the corner of Hooper and Berg, and then renderings of those. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Zorn, who will introduce the team that'll talk about the details of the proposed project.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. Tonight I'm here as your city administrator, but in my capacity as administrator, I am also a member of the Southfield Nonprofit Neighborhood Corporation. In addition to myself, there's one council member which is selected amongst your body once a year. That current member is Council President Mandelbaum. Mayor Seibert is also a member, not in his capacity as mayor, but as a member appointed by the 9-member board. Tonight, we're here to discuss the Wellspring development. I'd like to give council just a few kind of refresher points. The nonprofit in 2014 went through a restructuring, refinancing of McDowell Towers and River Park Place. We operate McDowell Towers and River Park Place. Those properties consist of 404 units. We also operate Woodridge Apartments on Groden Drive, another 100 units. Our primary target, our audience, as an operator at McDowell Towers and River Park Place, we are primarily a senior community. Our townhomes are a family community. Our typical tenant has an income of about $1,000 a month, and they're paying rent at 30%. You have 400 for Section 8, project-based Section 8 contracts. What happened in 2014, those contracts were expiring. And the refinancing through the utilization of low-income housing tax credits allowed the nonprofit to make an investment of just under $38,000 per unit back into the property, as well as recapitalize our reserves. It also created some net income for the nonprofit, which resulted in the nonprofit taking on a number of ventures. Those ventures have included the John Grace project, which we hope to break ground early fall, late summer, early fall. We are very much committed to the restoration of older buildings. John Grace was one of those buildings, and McKinley School Project is also one of those projects that we've undertaken in the community. So John Grace will soon happen. McKinley School Project is under construction. Our newest project is the Wellspring Project. Our partner in the Wellspring Project is a group called My Side. My Side formerly was known as Southwest Solutions. Southwest Solutions is based out of Southwest Detroit. They're primarily a community health agency. If you look at a lot of the great things that we see happening in the city of Detroit, particularly in the Corktown area, a lot of it is the work of Southwest Solutions. And Janae Mallett with that organization can speak to the many things they've done there. I have been able to take 5 of you on a tour of property called Andy's Place. That is the model for this project. The nonprofit currently operates supportive housing. What we're proposing here is a continuation of the work that we do with supportive housing. Although our target market at McDowell Towers, River Park Place, and Woodridge, and soon John Grace is primarily seniors, we offer transportation, counseling, assistance with other social services. With the Wellspring project, we are committed to serving a community that's been hard hit throughout the country, and that is folks who are recovering from opioid addiction. This project is very different than other recovery facilities. It is a housing property that is wrapped with services to provide full support for folks who are going through this. You might think, why is this something on the city's radar presently? As the country responds to the opioid crisis, one of the things we saw during the pandemic were just incredibly numbers that were difficult to understand and what was happening with addiction and drug overdose in our community. Every day, my team did a call that lasted anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and a half, and one of the stats that constantly blew me away was about addiction and the number of overdoses. Working with our friends in Oakland County, we've put together this project for this development, and at this point I'd like to turn this over, the presentation, to the folks standing behind me to just tell you a little bit more about the project. And the Andy's House is an outstanding model. I think that this really comes down to how these properties are managed and maintained. And if we saw anything, at McDowell Towers and River Park Place before that financing, what proper management can do in one of these communities. If you're not offering transportation, if you're not offering the wraparound services, the other things that folks need, you're really not doing the community a service. And I think we've done an excellent job there, and we're asking council to consider our request for the rezoning. Thank you.
Good evening, Melissa Medici, City Health Service Manager here in the city. I also have Janae Mallet, who is part of the developing team, and Barbara Hankey, who's past president of the Michigan Association of Treatment Court Professionals, that can answer any questions if you have any. So we're going to talk about the Wellspring, part of the Southfield Non-Profit Neighborhood Corporation. The River Park Place McDonald Towers is one of their project, as Mr. Zorn said, that is 100% occupied at this time. Southwest Housing Solution is part of the My Side Housing nonprofit organization under the umbrella of the parent company that has My Side Health, My Side Wealth, and My Side Early Years. My Side Housing is a proven developer of affordable and real estate owned housing property. The company founder is a long-term committed owner who continually reinvests in his properties in the communities that he serves. Southwest, over the past 5 years, have many projects going on and finishing, and one right here in Southfield, the finishing construction of John Grace Arms that is due to commence in late summer. As Mr. Zorn said, this is the 4-story, 2-building spring well, you can see, with the gated community. 60 units. It consists of 35 one-bedroom units and 25 2- to 3-bedroom units in these 2 buildings. The 12 townhomes that sit along Berg. One of the townhome is reserved for a property manager on scene. This is the site plan. The two-story building sits west of the property, located south of Hooper and close to the Rouge River. The 4 townhomes are located west of Berg, right behind the River Park condos. Springwell consists of spacious passive park plus an active playground for ages 2 to 12. It achieved the National Green Building Standard that is in goal with the Southfield Sustainability Plan. It also has a spacious multi-purpose and programming area, and this is really good for group sessions, meetings, or anything that the residents will see fit. The National Green Building provides the guidelines for the building to achieve the goals of the Southfield Sustainability Plan. The Wellspring will allow an opportunity for Oakland County residents to recover for substance use disorder. The collaboration with the Oakland County Treatment Courts for referrals for recovery in the housing unit. The collaboration is by treatment court referrals and the part of their treatment plan. They have monitoring, reporting, and continued support after graduation. They will employ 1.5 case manager, 2 peer support specialists, 3 full-time security personnel, a full-time property manager, a full-time resident service coordinator, and a full-time maintenance superintendent. Wellspring incorporates some of the best practices as modeled after Andy's place, the design and amenities, security, 2 peer support specialists. The 2 peer support specialists live the experience. They can serve as role models. They empower the resident in recovery and gives a non-judgmental support. They have relatability and continued care after the formal treatment is completed. Andy's Place success metrics. So out of the 49 of the 50 apartments are occupied. 1 tenant is a full-time college student. 29 tenants are employed. 4 tenants organize weekly meetings and monitoring sessions. 4 tenants are trained to be peer recovery coaches. 3 tenants are stay-home parents with newborns. 30 tenants now have automobiles and valid driver's license. 4 tenants have reunited with their children who were in foster care. So the priority household sets aside, all apartments will be targeted for persons earning at or below 60% of the area median income. And the AMI is a measurement used by the government and housing organization to determine eligibility. You can see 1 person, 39,000, 2 person, whether it's a child or a parent. And these apartments are feasible for many occupations: retail, restaurant, hospitality, property managers. So they are feasible to those occupations. Recovery housing and long-term recovery. The length of stay can vary depending on the individual needs. So there's no time limit on this. It's what the person in recovery really needs. This kind of support can be crucial to an individual facing challenges in maintaining their recovery outside of a structured environment. Opiate addiction without formal treatment or support has a significant higher relapse rate at the rate of 41% relapse rate in the first year. Those with supportive services have a relapse rate of 9.7% at the 5-year mark with proper support. So the funding is completed with commitment letters. The total development cost is $33.4 million. And you can see that the low-income housing tax credit, MISHTA, deferred development fees, payment in lieu of taxes, Oakland County funding is all committed to this project. Letters of support are from all different organizations: Michigan Works, Michigan State University, Salvation Army, Lighthouse, CNS Healthcare, and there's more coming in as they hear about this project. Supportive services, substance use treatment services, and this can come from all different venues, whether it's the treatment courts, Families Against Narcotics, CNS, which is located right here in Southfield. Treatment court oversight, that they are assigned a case manager. Recovery and community, at Andy's Place, it's been founded that one of the key support for the resident in recovery to reside in a community dedicated to recovery. Spiritual support, move up some here. Employment services, we have Michigan Works right here in Southfield. Emergency food and supplies, we have different pantries and food services available right here in the local area. Financial fitness program, hosted by Oakland County Economic Development. Legal services, to help those with legal fees and restitution. Literacy and educational services, tried to get them back to school or trade or college. Behavioral health services, Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. This is one of the requirements for treatment court. Families Against Narcotic. Housing advocates to provide initial and ongoing wraparound services for clients and their tenancy at Wellspring. Treatment court oversight and supervision. Recovery community at Andy's, Randy said that. Okay, so the Wellspring, this is an example of the Wellspring art requirement. It's a water fountain. Water often is associated with renewal, cleaning, and healing. A water fountain can serve as a powerful symbol towards recovery and to be a focal point for calming and reducing stress and anxiety. This is an example of a Wellspring passive park. The passive park is a nature's therapeutic effect. The benefit is in healing, relaxing space with community connection. This space will be designed for reflection and meditation with trees and flowers. This is an example of the dog park. Incorporating a dog park can provide emotional support, that unconditional love, provide those in recovery and with responsibility and routine, physical activity, and also create a healthy distractions from cravings and negative thoughts. The active park for children can be supportive in a nurturing environment. This space can be used for counseling, peer support, and family therapy sessions. This easement is centrally located in between the two four-story buildings and the 12 condos. There's a smart connector close by. There's two on Berg, north and south of Civic Center, and this will help residents to be taken anywhere within a 10-mile radius. Some key players in the Michigan Recovery Housing, Governor Snyder and Governor Whitmer. The continuing concern over the opioid overdose, we know it's not going anywhere. Southfield had 291 overdoses last year. Some partners with my side, they'll be given 2 case managers with housing stability, financial assistance, how to be a good neighbor. The court probation officer has coordinating benefits, the substance use disorder treatment and training, conflict resolution. Oakland County Treatment Court is a source of the residency through referrals. They must be an Oakland County resident. They cannot be a violent offender. They must comply with court orders and probation rules. They must submit to random drug and alcohol screening, attend treatment session, continue to pay restitution, attend biweekly status review hearing, attend AA or NA recovery support meetings, seek employment, educational programs, and provide the documentation that they did such. The referrals come from the court or judge, in addition to probation department, community mental health, attorneys, law enforcement, pretrial staff, and prosecutors. As you can see here, numbers, ED visits, Oakland County has 9% of what's happening in the state. The non-fatal overdose, Oakland County has 10%. The numbers of opioid-involved poisoning, we don't have an exact number because the number is skewed due to as many Narcan kits as we give out. We've given out 2,600 Narcan kits in Oakland County alone last year. Traffic crashes, Oakland County has 10% of them. Involving drugs, 10%. Deaths resulting from traffic crash involving drugs, 5%. Year-to-date, there's been 700 EMS calls with substance use, over 70 overdoses. 67 of overdoses involve fentanyl. 48% of cocaine now has fentanyl in it. The Michigan Poison and Drug Information Center has issued a warning about cases with fentanyl-laced marijuana. Wellspring Recovery House goals is to save lives, to allow a person to recover in dignity, and to help rebuild their lives, careers, returning to their employment or school, allow a person to focus on their families. Some of them have lost their children and they work to get their families back, to reduce the drug and alcohol-related criminal recidivism, reduce homelessness, reduce the cost of Oakland County opioid epidemic, which are extreme and continue both socially and economic burden. This will help bring the calmness to their chaos. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Melissa. Hi, I'm Janae Mallett with My Site Housing. I wanted to mention that we had a resident engagement meeting at the city's Parks and Rec Department. We had 2 residents in attendance. One resident lived very close by on Simmons. The other resident resided in another part of Southfield. The one resident that resides 2 blocks up, her questions, the type of question she asked was if we were interested, the development team, in purchasing her home. She shared with us that she had an offer nearly 3 to 4 years ago from another developer wanting to do a group home. Her comments were also along the lines of inquiring if the city had any resources to improve her home. She mentioned she was in need of a roof. And we also talked about, she disclosed her age. She's 81 years old, and she also discussed that she was interested in senior housing. So we discussed with her McDonald Towers as a housing option, and her wait list was added, her name was added to the wait list for John Grace Arms. So we wanted just to briefly report that not only did the planning department mail out letters to the residents that live in close proximity, we also mailed out letters as well, and we were happy to have a resident engagement meeting.
And if I could, just what you're deciding is that this is a rezoning to residential unit development district, multifamily residential with supportive services. Now, this isn't your run-of-the-mill rezoning, obviously, based on all the presentation, but with regards to the tool that was developed was specific for helping to revitalize vacant schools and school sites and other areas which had large tracts of vacant, undeveloped land to allow for this creative housing redevelopment project. So that's the essence of the rezoning. I know you may have some questions about the programming, but on the face of it, it's rezoning to multifamily residential with supportive services. And they hit all the bells and whistles with regards to all the amenities that we'd like to see when we make these considerations. Conservation easement of wooded wetlands, improved pedestrian access, improved access to public transit, playgrounds, dog parks, walkability, and so forth. So from a zoning perspective, this meets all those tests.
Council, do you have any other specific questions? Councilman Hoag?
Should I wait for them?
You can ask your question.
Oh, I have a question. You have a question? Yeah. So when we went to visit Andy's place in Jackson, what I see different from our proposed project are those townhouses. My concern is, and this is because it's planning, it was shared with us that, you know, first of all, we know these are referrals that are coming from the drug court. And in order to gain entrance into those apartments, the security guard let you in. So I was okay with all that till I saw townhomes on there. So how is that security measure going to be applied to the townhomes?
So the townhomes are not set aside for folks in recovery. Those are regular townhomes for folks in need of workforce housing, affordable housing. In one of the townhomes will be occupied by a property manager, a full-time property manager. But Councilwoman, those are no different than folks in need of workforce housing. We do anticipate that there will be some family members, friends that will want to reside there in support of members who are in the 60 recovery housing units. We also wanted to plan that, so it was important for us to have a very cohesive neighborhood-like setting for the recovery housing units. It was important that we had that corner already developed. It provides economies of scale with extending utilities. It allows for the 8-foot multimodal path to be installed. And again, the whole purpose was for recovery housing folks to feel like they reside in a neighborhood.
Well, let me say this. So I'm disappointed we didn't discuss that, because I would have a lot of questions on how that's supposed to operate. And I would just ask before it comes back, can you email me that process? Because as I shared with you all, my concern was crime and all of that, and I didn't want to bring that to that neighborhood. We already got a senior community there, but when we met, I was okay because we talked about the security around the apartments. We never talked about, or at least I don't recall, we talked about townhomes.
Well,
so that's different.
We own and operate 64 townhomes in Oak Park, and they are, the wait list is probably 2 years worth. We have not had any opportunity with townhomes that we rent. We inspect our units twice a year, so we do home inspections. I can just tell you, we have not had any situations with security when we build townhomes for rental.
Well, let me clarify. My concern is not just security. That was one. I'm just bringing it up because of it being planning. But another concern of mine is, how does that intake process going to work? If you're saying that because I mentioned the security piece of it, that these won't be referrals from the drug court, but rather family members or whatever, I want to understand that process.
Well, it's no different than the rental townhomes you just had south of it.
I'm sorry, say that
It's
again.
the townhomes that we're proposing, the 12 townhomes. It's no different than the process that you have just directly south, where you have rental townhomes in your community, ma'am, that our co-developer, the Southville Nonprofit Neighborhood Corporation, owns.
But the difference is you're tying this to the residents of the apartments, and it's different because it wasn't brought up. That's all I'm saying. So I personally would like to get more information on how the townhouses are going to operate as far as getting someone in there. That would be, I just would like more information about that.
Right, well, we'll follow a fair housing marketing plan. A fair housing marketing plan for non-recovery housing projects is required. We will advertise those for any folks that are interested. We still do criminal checks. We still do credit checks. It's no different than the townhomes that are directly located south of it.
I know you keep saying that, but I will want to see it in writing.
Okay.
Okay? Because again, it wasn't brought up, so I get that. And I want to see how it ties into the apartments. And then my second question would be, we saw on the screen where it talked about, okay, obviously there's income levels, but then if their income goes up, obviously it's not, your income goes up, you're out of here. That's probably looked at, what, yearly or something?
We do annual income certifications, and individuals are allowed to reside as long as their income does not exceed 140% of the county's area median income.
Okay. And I'm okay with everything, just that last piece. The only comment I would have, and this isn't planning, but I just have to say, we talk about the opiate issue, but before there was opiate, it should say really drug, but because before there was opiate, it was crack cocaine. And I hate the fact that we always miss that, as if, you know.
And that's why we're calling it it's now called substance use disorder, because it's every substance, whether it's alcohol.
Right. I only mention it because a lot of the slides refer to opiate.
But the
and so-
treatment court is, is the opiate. I mean, that's what we're seeing. The opiate, and, as I stated, we're now seeing the fentanyl in marijuana, right? They're putting out that warning. Cocaine now has the fentanyl in it. So that's really the opiate part of it. And because of the addictive properties, you're going to see it in everything.
And that just what has nothing to do with the property, but I'll just also ask this. How close are we, or are we going to get a drug court here in Southfield? Do we, or no?
Good evening, Barb Hankey. I don't want to speak for the judges or for the court here in Southfield, the 46th District Court. However, I do know that Judge Harvey Hoffman has had some initial discussions with them, and I believe that they have reached out to some other treatment courts in the area. Running a treatment court is very intensive, and so each court really needs to make a decision if they have the resources, and the number of cases that would support having a treatment court. So I believe they're looking into it, but I don't know where they are in that process.
I know they're in talks with Chief Johnson as far as getting it here, but, as she stated, it is very labor intensive and getting more judges for the dockets.
And maybe this, my last question may be for you, and I'm okay if it's a no, but is there any preference to any Southfield residents that may come through the Oakland County Court?
So as it currently stands, even though Southfield doesn't have a treatment court, there are opportunities for residents to be referred to other treatment courts, other district courts that run treatment courts. So that would always be an opportunity for them to be, go into
I guess what
the
I'm
Troy
asking,
District Court or something.
if they come through the Oakland County Court and they turn out to be a Southfield residents because this is in our city, do they get any preference?
That would be based on the housing application.
Okay, that's all.
Mr. Mayor, you wanted to interject?
I just wanted to, at Andy's place, the townhomes were for families, correct?
They don't have townhomes.
There weren't any.
I'm sorry?
They are expanding,
It was
but
all
they're not
apartments.
doing townhomes.
Okay, well then it was an apartment building. Do you foresee the townhomes possibly being for families related to the people who are in the apartments?
Potentially. We do have, if you look at the two recovery housing, two four-story buildings, the building that is on the east side, it has 25 apartments, and we have 22 bedrooms in there, and we have 5 3-bedrooms. And we came up with our ratio because Andy's Place was built 4 years ago. We're using the same property management company, KMG Prestige. So we asked the management company, plus we asked the treatment courts, plus we asked the staff on site, how many units is a good mix for families? As mentioned at Andy's Place, there's quite a bit of success stories with parents being reunited with their children from foster care. So we wanted to provide units for a familial setting as well.
Well, I really think the family situation is important. And I think it's part of recovery. So I'm glad to hear that there are larger
Yes.
apartments.
Our
more-
3 bedrooms are over 1,250 square feet, and our 2 bedrooms are 960 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. First of all, I agree 100% with my colleague, Councilwoman Hoag. I also would like that information. Council, I question if we need to bring this to a committee of the whole meeting. I'm confused. We're talking about drugs, we're talking about alcohol. Now you mentioned foster care. this is not what Andy's Place was about, so, anyways, I'm confused. And then who is this managed and maintained, who's gonna manage and maintain this property?
We will contract with.
Who's we?
The developer.
Who's the developer?
Southwest Housing has partnered with the Southfield Nonprofit Neighborhood Corporation. Those are the two developers. There's two co-developers, your Southfield nonprofit and my nonprofit.
Southfield Nonprofit, and what was the other one?
Southwest Housing Solutions.
And where are they located?
We're located in Detroit, Michigan, but we have properties in Oakland County.
Okay, and then we talk about peer support specialists. Who is going to be hiring these individuals?
Well, Councilwoman, could I help you understand some of your comments you previously made when you talked about alcoholism, fentanyl, opioids, and you indicated that that was not what you saw at Andy's Place? Andy's Place does serve all folks that are referred from the treatment courts that have substance use disorder.
Where does foster care fall into that?
Foster care is parents that have been stabilized or in recovery. They're allowed to get their children out of foster care. Some parents had to lose their children when they went into jail. They lost their children as a result of their addiction, and now that they're in recovery, they're able to get their children back from foster care. So families are allowed to live on site.
So again, who is going to be hiring the peer support specialists?
The peer support specialist will come from CNS Healthcare. CNS Healthcare is a behavioral counseling healthcare provider that is located on Northwestern Highway in Southfield.
And then who decides who the resident that will be on the property and living in one of the units? And will they be paying for that particular property?
Some will come with no income, so they will receive project-based vouchers from the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. We do anticipate that once residents are referred to us from the Oakland County treatment courts, that they will retain jobs, that they will be gainfully employed. They will also obtain additional educational supports, whether that's trade school, to get a job in the construction trades. We do anticipate folks going to get their GEDs. We do anticipate a large number of residents obtaining employment once they reside at Wellspring.
No, I'm talking about the individual that will be in one of the townhomes. Someone
Anybody.
Someone had indicated that there will be one person that will be staying.
Excuse me, through the chair. The property manager.
Property
How would
manager.
that property manager
Who's going to be hiring the
selected?
property
I'm
manager?
sorry, I was not understanding your question at all. I apologize. KMG Prestige is the
I'm sorry.
KMG Prestige is the property management company. The same manager for John Grace, the same property manager. They serve 5 states. They're located in 5 states. They specialize in affordable housing and workforce housing. They're actually one of our state housing authorities' #1 property management company preferred. And they will employ a property manager as well as a full-time maintenance personnel for the properties.
Is all of this listed in the information that was sent to us?
It's in the PowerPoint presentation, yes.
Okay, I can't open it, so. Mr. Zorn, if you could work with IT or your staff, for some reason I can't open the presentations. And again, I agree with Councilwoman Hoag and everything that she said. I'm not sure if this is what I thought the property was going to be.
Could you explain,
also.
could you help me understand why this presentation?
I understand the Andy's Place and the properties on the left-hand side of the screen. It's a townhomes. I'm a little confused and concerned about, and I don't know if I understand who's going to be in charge of them, who's going to be living there, how it relates to Andy's Place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a different twist than what I thought we were doing there.
Well,
So-
the 12 townhomes Would you agree that it's nice to have Andy's Place within a neighborhood setting? It's nice to have the south part of Hooper Boulevard finished so the two developments can feel like you're in a neighborhood setting?
Before I can ask that question, I guess I need to see the PowerPoint presentation because maybe some of my questions will be answered.
Sure.
I'm just not comfortable with
I
this.
feel-
I'm not comfortable with this project right now. I don't know why, but something just doesn't seem right to me. I need more information. Thank you.
Councilman Haynes?
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be able to visit and work together on this, and we saw this from the beginning. I used to work at a group home when I was living in New Orleans, and it was a facility for children, and they were abused from different type of families and all type of things. There's a transition that takes place with those kids, where some of them are able to go back into the homes if the parents have gotten rehabilitation, mental health, taken classes, or different things like that. The difference in that facility and what you're talking about is we housed the kids that had the problems, not the parents that had the drug issues and the alcohol and the things of that nature. When we saw Andy's Place, I was very impressed with the idea. I was very impressed with the concept and also with the person himself. And I think the importance there lies in the fact that he had a personal mission or some heart about this because of what took place with him and how that happened. I think that's key in who you get there and get in those facilities. Also, in an explanation of the peer-to-peer, when a person recovers and does well and continues to do well, they're the best person to relate to someone that is in that position. So I do understand having those type peer-to-peer. We saw some people that were in different stages, families, singles, females, males, all different type of people. They do need somewhere to go. We have had, and sometimes when new development or new things come here, always people would say, well, not in my backyard, not this, not that. That is a prime location for that. And I do echo her concerns, my colleagues' both concerns. When you have a housing like that and you put the townhouse, there's somewhat of a reality here that we really do need to look at the closeness in the vicinity of those two where you have security here and maybe not it there. I'm not saying that it cannot operate on the same street in the same place, but I do think we do need to look at some possible security measures for the townhouse, possibly. I think that maybe they may feel comfortable with that. I think it's a good idea to have the townhouses. And just because we don't know the level of the people that may be coming in with the type of situation, even though they're secured there, that's the first thing some of the residents are going to say. I'm going to tell you that's what's going to happen there. But I think that it's in a good location, but it's also secluded too. So in that, I think it's important that we do look at that part of it. But the entire concept is going to be based on that. My other concern was when you certify the income of the people coming in, how often is that done and who does that? Because sometimes transition may not take place because it's not monitored, or maybe it may take place, maybe those people may not want to be, just a concern there.
When tenants move in, their lease agreement says that their incomes will be certified annually. It's a requirement by the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. It's a requirement of the type of funding. KMG Prestige, our property managers, has full-time compliance staff on board that takes care of those annual income certifications.
Okay, with all the factors in place, and we monitor and we get all the information that we need, that's a good location. And it seems like something to me viable for some of the people that were complaining about there's nowhere for people to go with those type of problems. The one thing I like that he did say was sometimes some people have to stay longer. And I'd rather see someone in a facility as opposed to being on the street. I'd rather see someone be rehabilitated than to be discarded. And we're doing too much of that today, and we don't have the mental health facilities. But this is a step in the right direction in taking care of those. And I think that we should really give some priority to what's happening here in Southfield, if we can, because if we look at a lot of the criminal things that happen here, a lot of it is related to drugs. And we're going to have a rise in if we continue to have some of the things with the lacing of the fentanyl and things like that, provided these people do survive that. You know, that's real key, very key.
Mr. Mayor?
I just want to point out that right around the corner are the River Park Place townhouses. These are low-income supported residents. It's all part of the high-rise building, and then we have the townhomes. I don't see a difference between River Park Place with the subsidized senior housing and the townhomes around the corner. At McDonald Towers, Woodridge, and River Park Place, there is a review of the income level. And when people exceed it, they either have to go to market rate, they have to pay the full fare. Market rate now at McDonald Towers is something like $1,100 a month, as opposed to $200 or $300 in subsidized housing. So either they have to pay market rate or they have to leave. They're not allowed to stay, and that's because of the subsidy that they're getting either from MSHDA or HUD. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but we're talking about subsidized housing in the townhouses. And if that's the case, they are monitored. Otherwise, you lose the funding for these units. And I'll just tell you, as the chair of the Southfield Nonprofit Neighborhood Corporation, we do this all the time, and the other beauty of it is they are inspected. There are what's called a REACT, the regular inspection of the property. All of this is audited.
I
think
Mr.
Mr.
Zorn
Zorn
wants to
wanted to
respond.
I just want to, the mayor's statement is correct. The townhomes are a subsidized unit. And as I stand here, I imagine this was a very similar conversation that happened when those townhomes were being built. And if you go through the history, that's one of the things that prompted the nonprofit to start with the land assemblage and that going back in the 80s. Working with HUD and the city and the nonprofit, they parcel by parcel started picking up that property. You are correct that when we toured Andy's place, we did not see townhomes. There were 12 townhomes presented in the PowerPoint in the packet that I gave most recent to Ms. Banks. I don't think I had renderings at that point to show you a townhome at that point. On the recent tour, what we've handed out the last 2 Fridays, we had renderings showing the townhomes. I will offer this. A lot of this and what we're talking about is about the management and the capacity of what happens with that management. If you saw anything at McDonald Towers and River Park Place since 2014, it's been about management. We privatized the management. We brought in the support services. We addressed security. In in what we saw at Andy's house, we saw a security person as you came in. I believe we can address security at the townhomes, the 12 homes on Berg and Hooper Street in much the same way that we've addressed security at River Park Place townhomes. So we'd like an opportunity to respond to that. I will offer this, and we talk about a lot of things, but something that you should know about me is that in 1998, I worked on the acquisition of 2,186 apartments in a city of 24 square miles, a half square mile that accounted for 65% of all of our police runs, in excess of 50% of our fire. Social service issues were through the roof. Again, a city of 24 square miles, a half square mile. A year later, a very different community. And it comes down about how these properties are managed, how you address security. Mr. Crode was a planning consultant that he's very familiar with the project. You know, we actually built another 120 units. We condoized things, but this is about how you manage. This is how you teach. You know, when you bring a GED program to a community that's primarily high school dropouts, when you build a human services building, well, we may not be building a building at this point in time. We're providing that support to make that happen in a virtual sense. The agencies that are who will be working with us will be on site. If you remember Andy's place, we walked down that hall and we saw those little offices. There were different agencies came in and worked and met with clients. We saw the community rooms where people had their group sessions and their, you know, whether it was Narcotics Anonymous or Alcohol Anonymous, a lot of these challenges, alcohol, drugs, opiates, they're so intertwined. I am not an expert on it, but what I've seen enough between Andy's place and in my prior experience and with Southwest Housing Solutions, actually started out as Southwest Community Mental Health. The housing component was just another piece of addressing that in a holistic approach. So this development's really about bringing a more holistic problem. And the fact is, Southfield is in excess of 10% of these cases in Oakland County. And if you look at our population, we've got a disproportionate number. And what I heard every day for 2 years on COVID calls, you know, people ODing, the Narcan being distributed, we need a more aggressive approach. And that's what this is about, in my opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Zorn?
Yes.
If I may say, and with all due respect to you, to the mayor, with all due respect, and the developer, you guys aren't hearing what I was saying. I understand subsidized housing. That wasn't my issue. Right. The issue is, one, I didn't get a packet. You talked about it, but I didn't get a packet, so I didn't see townhomes. You didn't give us one on our Friday. Two, it's not the same because the referrals are coming from the drug court. And what I'm saying is, so you said that these are families to those residents. So what my concern was, when you don't have the security that checks them in and out, and they have to be in by 10 and all of that, who knows what happens when they go from their apartment to the townhouse? That could create problems, because I know this problem. I've dealt with it personally in my family. So with all due respect, please don't tell me it's the same as McDonald Square, because it's not what I'm talking about. And to say that dismisses my concern, and I didn't like that. But I will say, I didn't get the packet, so I was never aware of the townhomes. And that's the only concern that I have, is the part that you lose, the being in at 10 a.m. And I understand, because I'm just now hearing it, that the families are not part of the drug court, that they're families to the residents that are in the apartments, but that could cause problems. And I just would like to know more about it and think about it, because it just came before me today. That's all.
Certainly, and clearly my intents were not to be dismissive. And if you, I apologize. Okay.
And I think we agree up here. So,
Can I say something?
just wanted to say.
Well, one minute. Councilwoman Haynes?
Also, what she's saying too in reference to that is, in knowing when a person is under some type of treatment, there is conflict with the family, and they will go back and there's interchange. As we can see with the reports that we have, the problems with the domestic violence and the drugs, they still associate with those families. And if they're going to be on that same housing in that same area, there's some possibility that those things could occur. And I do think that we do need to look at that and consider that there. And no offense, but this is 2024. We're dealing with a different group of people, different ways, and I know that you all know that too, but the whole epidemic of the drugs is just different with the families, and it's, you know, the spreading of it. So I know you understand that. So I think we just don't want to say that it's just the family's going to be there and they're going to be here. They're secured, but they're not secured, or what have you. Even if the people in the townhouses aren't related to the ones that are with the treatment, there still needs to be awareness of some security for that.
And what I'd like to say about the townhomes, the people that are in recovery that are under the court orders and the foster care orders, that is nothing to do with the development. They have all those supportive services. Foster care is not going to have a supportive service within that. That's going to be between the person in recovery and foster care. But these townhomes are really a goal for those in recovery in that either exceeds their income or wants to get their family back. It gives them a goal to go to these townhomes so they can continue supportive services. And a lot of times what you've seen, and I know firsthand, I lost my son to addiction, that people that have these peer support people want to give back to the community. Families want to give back to the community. That's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do in Southfield. And what they do is they stay close to that community. I don't foresee a family lifting up their life after all this turmoil to go live closer while they're in recovery. They really need that separation. But what I think you're going to see is those in recovery will move up and succeed and move in those townhomes. Or you're going to have people that want to be there close to those supportive services because that's where those services are. I think that's what you're going to see. I don't think you'll see families lifting up their life to come move here unless it's a family unit with kids and a spouse. Thank you.
Councilman Brightwell.
Okay. Andy's place is kind of like utopia, and what I saw in the presentation with respect to supportive living, supportive housing. My biggest concern about this whole project is several of them really. It's basically one is sustainability. I saw a number said 34 million or somewhere along it, and I'm not sure that I have a clear concept of the financial, sustainability of this. And if obviously if I get more data, I just got exposed to it the other day, but that would clear up one thing. It's for sustainability and the financial sustainability of this. The other is, as a city councilman, some people have my ear. They're very dramatic in their tone, and I know what they're talking about. Is there any concept of crime prevention that has looked at this whole concept? Good.
I think the planning director, we've looked at.
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
From a security point of view, we tried to look at all angles of the building, how you see out, the windows, the placement, the security of the doors, where the security offices are. The townhomes, the fact you have more eyes on the street, you wrap the corner. I didn't want the end of the corner to still be Woodlands area. I want it to be developed as housing, so it would be easier for law enforcement to get in and out of the development as well, too. So I have taken quite a bit of opportunity to meet with our civil engineers, plus hopefully Mr. Croad's team in terms of them looking at what are best practices for the most safety precautions, whether it's the driveway that comes in, the circular drive. We have stops for school buses as well. So I really tried to design a development that will prevent crime because there's more eyes on the street, there's more visibility between the two buildings, how the driveways are laid out, how the parking is assembled.
That's a very good bullet point where we had to check those various boxes off, like we check our boxes from various other things. But if your intake mechanism, and I have a family member that's dealt with this, but she was a judge and she had a hammer. When the people go offline, she said, do you want to spend some time in my hotel? She meant going to jail. So what type of, let's say, hammer do you hold over these people that are in this complex with respect to you will either, if you would refer by the court system, if they're in this facility into perpetuity, if you do good. So what kind of hammer do you have on them to make sure that they are want to do good, and they don't want to get the raft of whatever the consequences are.
Right, so initially, everyone that's coming into the facility will be under the jurisdiction of a treatment court. And so the judge and the treatment court team will be meeting with that individual. They'll be required to report to court. It's usually every other week, to look at their progress, make sure they're staying in compliance. And if there is a violation of the treatment court rules, the judge and that team, follows with the judge, has the ability to put that give them a sanction. And that could be anything from writing an essay to serving some small, portion of time in jail. It really depends on the severity of the violation.
But, the overriding issue, right, what I've been hearing from my colleagues is that by putting something like this in that area there, are we exposing our residents and citizens to an undue, there's a concentration of, let's say, drug addicts in a spot, and they're in different levels of treatment or different levels of being, good, bad, or indifferent. So that goes back to my initial question, let's say crime prevention, how's that being handled with respect to the community, surrounding community?
So if you were at Andy's place, you may have seen that there's a real sense of community, right? And so not only does the security that's hired sort of enforce the rules, but the other residents help to enforce the rules within the community. So we have to remember that having these people concentrated there, they patrol each other, and we're not, at Andy's place, we don't see those types of issues. In fact, the Jackson County, police chief says Andy's place is the safest place in Jackson County to be, because they don't have the runs that, they thought that, originally that they might have. So it really is a very safe community. And yes, that is the stigma that we're always trying to deal with and to fight, but it really, in reality, that's not the way it is. And these individuals would be all over your community anyways. These are people that are living in Southfield and in Oakland County.
One thing I think you need to know, these individuals coming from treatment court, they're going to be at least 90 days clean. This is not a rehab facility, this is a recovery. So these are individuals that have gone through rehab, however they do it medically, what have you. They have to be referred by the treatment court, and they are the ones that want to be in recovery. So this is not a rehab facility.
Okay, that's part of your intake. They need to have been graduated enough to be rewarded with this position.
Absolutely.
This location.
Yes.
So the next side of this, do we have a professional staff here in the city of Southfield? I know we do, that will determine that this is a safe place. Would our police department or the
Here I am.
crime prevention, so you would certify this is a crime-free area?
I have been in the city 30 years in the fire department. I have seen this opioid crisis. I tracked it for the last 8 years, and I've seen it go up. I gave you guys the information during COVID. I saw this. We started the meetings here because nothing was here on the south end. So when we originally went out with the police chief, the fire chief, the deputy chiefs, the fire chief, and myself, being the EMS coordinator. We went out there because we didn't think it would work. We thought run volume, hanging out, all kinds of crime and stuff. We were very, very surprised when we went out there. So surprised we thought it was, they just kind of put a show on for us. We came back and we actually called the police and fire departments to find out, what is really going on. Did it increase your run volume? The fire department, police department cannot handle any more runs or undue issues for them, right, because of
Right.
staffing. So
Right.
that was our concern. And I'm here to tell you that the police chief, the fire chief, and all of us looked into it, and it really, there is not an increase in runs there. They really do patrol themselves. It really is a clean facility. They really do take care of the residents there, and a lot of it is because it's private. We have more problems with group homes here in the city of Southfield that will pop up, apply for a license, never get it, close down, open up somewhere else. I've turned them in my whole career.
Right.
I don't see this happening here.
Okay. Well, and I was there the other day, and I was impressed with and that's why I used the term utopia from the standpoint of what I saw and the cleanliness and the questions that were answered from a standpoint as well organized. It has a mission, and it has know how to obtain that mission and how to obtain the objective for existing. So the big thing for me was obviously the ripple effect of crime, but is that package that we were given, does that explain the entire sustainability of this, Mr. Zone or Ms. Jenny, whatever?
Yeah,
So just to go back to the personnel, on the 2 4-story buildings, we'll have a peer support specialist residing in one of the buildings, and then there'll be a second peer support specialist. And that was key to what we learned at Andy's Place. And a peer support specialist is trained, they've achieved long-term recovery, and they're trained to spot any tenants that are struggling with recovery. As was expressed at Andy's Place, if any of the tenants are relapsing too much and they become harmful to themselves or harmful to any resident, they are removed. And we will be following those same rules. And perhaps Barb can speak about that before residents are referred here, they go through a very detailed assessment, and the courts will be referring, hopefully, the tenants that will, be the most successful, and they're taking their recovery seriously. They have been in jail for 60, 90, sometimes 120 days longer. So when they do arrive at Wellspring, they are in recovery. The other personnel that we'll have patrol officers from the treatment courts visiting regularly, as well as case managers. My nonprofit, as well as several other nonprofits in Oakland County, will also be funding 2 case managers as well too, and they specialize in what we call housing stability services. So an individual may need help with a budget, may need help with learning how to be a good neighbor, help with chores with maintaining their apartments, need help with nutritional classes, better diet, exercise, parenting classes, getting educational supports, employment supports, transportation supports. And then in addition to that, we have a full-time resident service coordinator that will be on site as well too. And the goal of the resident service coordinator is to have those activities that really engage residents. Mike Hurst at Andy's Place does a good job with doing the activities, but we will be employing a full-time resident services so that folks have good daily activities, good goals to look forward to, good outreach and networking within the Southfield community. And as far as sustainability, all the rents will be paid for by the Michigan State Housing Development Authority, except for as when folks obtain employment and their income increases, we will be invoicing them more for rent and getting less subsidy from the State Housing Development Authority. And within that pro forma, we have allocated 24/7 security within the project pro forma. I trend my expenses very conservatively. Utilities seem like they're always going up 4 to 6%, so I trended that in the pro forma. I trended water going up, 4 to 6%, where I only trend my rents going up 2 to 3%. And then what we also fund is a 6-month operating reserve. MSHDA will hold that reserve. Thank goodness those reserves are getting 3 to 4% annual interest, so they will be able to keep accelerating. I trend our utilities very conservatively. The project will be incorporating tons of green technology and infrastructure, so I do expect a reduction in both electric and gas expenses as well, but I do trend them very high as additional cushion for operating expenses. And we did our very best. We operate a lot of properties. We know how to underwrite them. We know how to manage them very securely. And I just wanted to make one more comment, is I have developed 124 single-family and townhomes that are available for rent just outside of Corktown and in northeast Detroit, and those are some of our best tenants. They enjoy a townhome. It's a way for folks to feel like they own a condominium, they own a home, they have a front yard, they have a backyard. Those are my best tenants. They do not want to be asked to leave.
Okay, all right, fine, thanks.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments for the petitioner? Yes, Councilman Banks.
It's almost like this is two different projects. I mean, you've got the 4-story apartments in the back,
Well,
and then the townhomes in front. That's how I'm viewing it, and I don't know, it just seems like there's a lot of questions and discussion around the table. I think we need to bring this before a committee of the whole meeting for further discussion before this comes back before council with a public hearing.
Through the chair, based on the number of questions, I was going to suggest that we just schedule this for next week under the study session so that they have time to answer your questions, you have time to ask more questions prior to coming back on the 20th for the public hearing. So we'll
And even if we do have the public hearing on the 20th, we don't have to vote, but it's already been advertised.
That's right.
And everything else, so it just, we don't have to vote, but we can still hold the public hearing.
So we'll add this item on to the discussion for next Monday, so they'll have time to provide additional information for council. You can ask additional questions, and then it'll come back on the 20th. As Council President has stated, we'd like to hold the public hearing to see if there's any comments from the public, and then you can decide to take action that night, or you could postpone your decision for further clarification on anything.
And then can we also have a list of the various organizations that will be involved in this? I mean, again, I see this as two separate projects, not one. And I don't know if it's too late to separate it into two separate projects, but.
Well, the concept is that the entire site would receive its master development plan approval. And this could have easily been done in 2 phases, but they intend to build everything in this same phase. So I think there were some legitimate questions raised about the townhomes that didn't previously come up with regard to security and so forth. We have that natural break of that acre plus conservation easement to physically separate. I do think that having the homes frame the street on Berg and Hooper creates a street wall and provides another amenity to the overall development, but keeps it distinct. I think the answering some of the questions about the interfacing of the 2 projects are legitimate, that they can provide some additional information, but from a planning, physical layout site, and the pastoral environment, I think this is a great location for, just on the planning side. And I know you have some questions about the operations of it, but I think that this is well laid out, and it has the higher density located closer to the Rouge corridor and immediately north of the higher rise development to the south. And the townhome scale matches the townhome scale to the south as well. So I think they did a good job as far as compatibility and adjacent use locations. But there's a lot of legitimate questions that were raised tonight, and this probably needs some additional work out that we can bring back next Monday.
I do want to bring up 2 things about the townhomes. Is the townhomes actually was recommended by your police chief to make that corner more secure, and the rents for the townhomes are $1,300 per month. So that is a family that is gainfully employed that will be residing at those townhomes.
I guess I'd like to review that also,
Sure.
because just looking at the whole area. But to our planner is, are all the homes on Hooper Street purchased, or will there be any single-family residential homes still on that street?
I think Mr. Zorn can answer it specifically. I believe there's one home on the north side of Hooper, and then there's 1 or 2 homes on Sims.
There are two homes on Hooper. The one home, the most easterly home on the north side, is still privately held. A couple times a year, we'll receive a call. And then the 2-story home next to that, that's owned by the nonprofit. After the gentleman who built the home passed away, it was offered by the estate. It was acquired and renovated, and it's being used as a rental right now.
And what about the 2 homes on Sims Street?
On Sims, there are more than 2 on Sims. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there are 5 on Sims, and the parcels that are vacant, except for 1, are all owned by the nonprofit. So the nonprofit owns the. There are 2 houses on Sims on the south side. The land in between is owned by the nonprofit. On the north side, I believe there are another 3 homes, and we own the most westernly piece, a house that was acquired that was slipping into the roof.
Through the chair, we can bring a map next week that shows the ownership, and you can see the 2 existing homes on the north side of Hooper. But we can add an additional slide that shows a larger area, and then we can have the overlay of who owns what.
Thank you.
All right, council, any other questions? I guess you could save them for next week.
Well, I just want to be clear that I do support this, and Mr. Zorn, I think I shared that with you. I just, when stuff is new to me, I just like to have those questions, addressed, because as I'm writing you an email, it's something I know that, I can get over it, but I just need the information to come back and not hit to me as if I'm not understanding something when what I was relaying was not being understood. And, but I appreciate it, I shared a lot of personal information with you all, Melissa, when we went, so I know this is needed, but I just want to make sure that, as also I shared, I don't want to create issues in that area around our senior, I want everybody to have a new shot at life and to be on track. I'm a compassionate person, but I just also know that with that small number where people will taint a program like this, because, and I just want to make sure that I understand where the townhouse residents, how they align with your park, how they're going to get selected, how are they, their families, just so that I can think it through myself. That's all, because I think that and that's just it. I mean, you can email me on that.
No, and I apologize, when you did tour, I had packets, but when we go on our tour, we had Mr. Hurst answering questions, we had the Jackson Community Action Agency, and I didn't know how much time we had, and it's never my intent to be dismissive. I tried to be very transparent. I also want you to know that the townhomes were brought up for us by the police chief, not only to put more eyes on the street and finish that corner, so it's a very wooded area, as you can see, but more importantly, it was also brought to our attention that as folks graduate out of recovery housing and want to still be part of that community, because mind you, we have multi-purpose rooms, we'll still be having AA meetings, we'll still be having my nonprofit's case manager show up. We're working with CNS Healthcare, which is a neighbor. So we will have still a lot of services and engagement. So the goal also is that as folks wanted to graduate from the congregate housing and have a less dense product, but still be close to services, that those townhomes would also be an option for them as well, too.
Yeah, and it had nothing to do with subsidizing, nothing. It was strictly just understanding how those residents will pair and interact and engage with those residents because of the fact that they wouldn't have to be in by team. Remember all those things, maybe Mr. Zorn, you weren't around, that was explained to us by the person over at Andy's place and how he said they had to be in by 10, the security and all that. I know that would
one thing too, if it is a family member at the townhomes, for them to go on the property, they have to be vetted through security. So with this program.
I mean, the other way around.
No, I understand that, but what I'm,
Coming from the apartment.
I don't know if we mentioned that, but to go on this property, in the 2 4-story, they have to be vetted through security. You can't just invite anybody over you want. They must be vetted through security, and checked in.
But
So,
Melissa, we know that, but you understand what I'm.
yeah,
it's
yes,
reversed.
yes, I understand.
That
Yeah.
them getting into that, that's my.
Yes, I understand.
Because there's no security
You're-
there.
What you're saying is that there could be triggers that live
Absolutely.
in the townhomes. I understood what you meant.
Subsidized. It was just strictly as they go visit someone in that townhouse, those triggers.
Yep.
To get them
Yep.
going for which they're protected in the apartment.
Correct.
That's my point.
Correct.
And so I would have brought that up.
Sure.
Because I knew Andy's house didn't have townhouse.
And because they're free to go, they're going to have triggers everywhere. But I do understand with family members.
That's all I-
Yep, I understood that.
And I just want to know, how do we protect that? Or if you think it's not a big issue, okay, then tell me that. But because it's new, I wanted to bring it up.
Right. There's going to be triggers everywhere. Thank you.
All right, council, anything else? All right, so it sounds like we will bring this back next week for a little deeper dive than what we did this evening. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we are at the council portion. We will start with Councilman Brightwell.
I have nothing to add.
All right, Councilman Haynes.
Yes, I just would like to say that last week I had the opportunity of attending a program at Stevenson Elementary, and it was such a great program that I'd really like to brag about the principal, Ms. Tanya Hickman, and Ms. Carlos Gaddis. I was called over to be a judge for a program that they were doing for the kids there, and it's similar to Shark Tank. And there were 2 young men, they're co-founders of a program called Kidvation Global. And what Kidvation Global does is they take the products that kids think of, create, and make, and the kids present them to them. And in this particular instance, I was one of the judges where 6 group of children came with projects that they had, and we were a panel of judges, and we had the opportunity to ask questions about each of the programs. And these were 4th and 5th graders, and I think 6th graders too, maybe. And they explained, they had power presentations, they were speaking, and there were 2 of the 6 programs were ready for sale. So those 2 kids that created those 2 products, rather, are going to be put on the Kidvation Global website for sale. So those are kids from Michigan, and if you look that up, the Kidvation website, you'll see where those kids' product. One was a slime, like with a scented slime for mental health that you could use, and but it's a clear slime, looks almost like Jell-O, and it was really, really nice. Those young ladies came up with that. And the other program was sort of like a stress ball made out of an ant, and he talked about that. And the great thing about this program is they didn't just pick kids that they picked all kids. And the 2 kids that came up with the other program for sale were 2 autistic kids, and they did a very, very good job. The other 4 teams, their products are going to be going on to research and development. The reason being is because they have a good product, but it needs further research, further looking into. I like this program because it targeted the younger children as opposed to the high school kids. It got them involved. They were excited. And the 2 guys from the Kidvation Global, I was able to take them to Lawrence Tech, where they saw what was happening at Lawrence Tech with the, I can't think of the name of the program there now at Lawrence, Accelerator. And so they're going to be working with them. This is such a great thing. And even one of the judges that sat on the panel, he's Mr. Gaddis, is a retired GM worker, and he takes his time and he goes over to the school and also reads to those kids, and he does, he did this program, he does other things. And I like to say the importance of that is because this is someone that is coming back to the community as a professional and doing the work with those kids in school, and it makes a difference. Stevenson Elementary will be now put on a map for 2 innovators and creators for design for programs, and I wanted to just give them a round of applause for that, and hopefully we can get some other kids and other programs involved where we are encouraging our kids to do things to be future business leaders, creators, and innovators. So much gratitude and thanks for them allowing me to be a part of the program and for the hard work that's being done by the staff, the entire staff over at Stevenson Elementary School. Thank you.
Councilwoman Banks?
I have nothing to add this evening. Thank you.
Councilman Hicks?
Just a few questions. One is a follow-up question. For me, last year was a football lover's dream with the Lions almost making it to the Super Bowl. Their success has been commemorated by having signage of their victories. University of Michigan, where I'm a proud alum, we all know how that went down, and there's a lot of signage to commemorate their victory. The mayor promised, and I thank him for that, for giving Southfield High School the same honor of having their state championship commemorated. Just as a follow-up ask, many of those students who were on that team are going to be going off to college. So maybe we can have some kind of, maybe even one sign that we can go and celebrate them, maybe, just before school lets out. Maybe it's just something to consider. And being prepared for our budget meetings, I have a couple of questions. Did we nail down which departments are going to go first so that I can focus on those areas first?
We'll have that by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Wasn't it what departments? For what though? For Wednesday.
Well, you can give it to me later. We can get it later.
He's meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
we can get that out to the council tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. The other question that I had in looking at a high level, first of all, good job on how it's laid out. I mean, some of the things that I was going to ask you about, showing previous year's budget to actual. But my ask would also be, when I look on the website, when we look at the 23-24 recommended budget, there's a high level that shows by department. Yeah, so 'cause I wanted to try to compare that to what's in more yeah, a high level.
Yep.
The other ask is when looking on the website, I know that Austin's going to have a kind of a budget to actual, which is in the book. But my question was, the actual that's in the book, what is the date up until? Is it February? Is it, last month? What are we looking at? Because when I would look at how much we have until June, comparing what was budgeted and what's actual, I'm trying to see the trend. So if we can just find out what date that was till in the report. The other thing is, on other boards that I sit on, every time we meet, we get a high level as to where we are with our actual budget. Now, maybe that happens in the finance subcommittee, but we don't get any call-outs to the rest of the council. What were the findings from finance or judiciary or neighborhoods or boards? Well, we kind of get boards and commissions when we appoint other resources, but I would like to get like a high-level call-out as to what goes on, because I can't come to those meetings because of OMA.
You should be getting all the material with the budget stuff.
We send it to we get it to you.
No, you just don't get, you get all the reporting as well.
Yes, as chair of the finance committee, I make sure that
Who would have sent it?
it would have been sent by probably Nicole, is it Nicole Dixon or, but I personally have made, I personally make sure every single council person has all the reports that are before the finance committee meeting.
Are there recommendations that are provided in those reports from the committees?
Recommendations.
Any next steps, any action items, a call out of what's happening in those meetings?
When the minutes are part of the packet, you will see the suggestions and/or recommendations. They're in the minutes.
You send them?
Yes, every single month we send them out, yes.
And because even as president last year, I did not receive all the finance
See,
minutes.
it's
So
right
we
there.
made sure this year that everyone receives everything.
And this has been coming out since December. And if anyone,
So that's finance, where's legislative? Not saying you can speak to that.
yeah, no.
But you get my point, right?
No,
Consistency for all.
and we on council, or I should let the council president speak, we ask that every single committee supply their agenda, minutes, and reports to the entire council. And I don't think we've been receiving them from all. I personally have spoken to several people to say, you need to send your agendas to everyone, but,
Okay. But you get my point.
no, I do. But if you need anything from finance,
I've been
it's-
asking for about 8 years, so.
Okay.
yeah, no, but all the reports, you saw that
Okay.
one report. Thank you.
Okay. But those are my asks or questions.
For Wednesday.
Well, yeah, for Wednesday. So that I can be prepared not to slow you guys down.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Councilman Hoag?
Thank you. I just had two things. On Saturday, the mayor and I had the pleasure of attending the change of command ceremony for the 645th Regional Support Command of the Army Reserve. We were invited by Major Davis, and it was a great opportunity for us for me rather, I should speak for myself, to witness that ceremony and then just be really honored and appreciative of our armed forces. And I mean, we had some high-ranking Army officials who came, brigadiers, I think that's how it's pronounced. We had about, this guy, the mayor may know, but he was kind of up there, and so they were in awe, and we had to be in awe. But it was a beautiful day, and Mr. Brightwell, we missed you there. And lastly, I'll just say, no, and I know you had, and I'm not being smart, I know that you had some.
They recognized me
Right.
in absentia.
They did, they absolutely did, and that you had something come up. And then lastly, and I know you all forgot, but we need to acknowledge and thank Chief Barron, who received another accolades. If you guys didn't hear, he was named Michigan Chronicle 2024 Men of Excellence, one of the men of excellence. So it's just a testament to the great people that we have in the city. You know, even though we may fuss and fight and argue, we love and appreciate each other, especially Mr. Zorn. I sent you an email of apology, so. But that's what we do. So when people think that we just okay everybody, we don't. We try to learn it and get it all ourselves. But again, I shouldn't have said those comments when I'm recognizing and thanking and appreciating our Chief Barron. So again, when you see him, congratulate him. That's all. Thank you.
All right, and then also, this Thursday, May 9th, the Parks and Rec Department is hosting a bike safety night from 5:30 to 7:30 in the north parking lot between the library and the Parks and Rec building. It's a free family event. You can bring your bikes, ride through a bike skills course set up by the League of Michigan Bicyclists, and you can learn about essential skills. You can have your bike you can have a safety check from local experts to make sure that your bike is in top form. And also Corewell Health will be there to properly fit and give away free bicycle helmets for the first 400 visitors. Again, that will take place this Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 in the municipal campus in the north parking lot, again, between the library and Parks and Rec. Also, today is my daughter's birthday, so I wanted to give a shout out to her. Allison. So it is her birthday. I will not reveal her age, but a very happy birthday to her. Thank you. Yes.
Happy Mother's Day.
How do you know I wasn't about to say that?
And a happy birthday to me.
When is your birthday?
Mother's.
Oh.
So text.
All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Mayor?
Well, several things. First of all, our partnership with Habitat for Humanity moved along in the end of April and last week. Rock the Block was a two-day event in Section 34. 17 homeowners got assistance from through Habitat and the volunteers who came out from various companies. Much of the work that was done this time was yard maintenance, removing overgrown brush. A lot of our, most of the people were elderly, and you know, we are proponents of aging in place, but of course yard maintenance does become a challenge for some. The other Habitat project that I attended was the 10th Women Build Home dedication. This was on Westover Street. The 10th one in Southfield. This one was not, as some of them were ground up, this one was not. This was a house in very, very poor repair. Really could have been a tear down, and possibly a tear down that the city had to come in and do the demolition at our expense. So again, this partnership with Habitat turned this very dilapidated home and it really spruced up. You can imagine having a home very poor shape on a street. It kind of is the eyesore of the block. And so it's now a showplace. And the Habitat client who's moving in, it's an affordable house with, she's a first-time home buyer. So so we've, you know, again, this partnership that we have with Habitat has been so valuable for the city. So I'm very, very pleased with that, and we had a very good turnout who attended that. There are a couple things in the Art Commission and Friends of Southfield Public Arts. I put on your, at your place, an invitation if you're available. We are having the opening. If you came in tonight to the lobby, you noticed that there's been a change of the exhibit. The former exhibit came down last week, and it always looks very naked out there, and people ask, you know, what's coming next? So there are some beautiful, beautiful pieces, once again, from local artists. We will have the artist reception on Thursday, the 16th, at 6:30 to 8:30 in the lobby. You'll get to meet the artists, light refreshment, and some artists will explain their work. And then also coming up this month as a fundraiser for the Friends of Southfield Public Arts, proceeds going to the 9 Mile Connectivity Project, is a vintage fashion show. And this will be held on Friday night, the 31st, from 7 to 9 p.m. in the Skyline Club. The club is closed, as you know, but it's open that night. The admittance is $50. The clothing is coming from Fantoni, which is a vintage clothing store in Berkeley. The models are 11 members of the Southfield A&T dance team. I wasn't sure when I worked with the dance coach, Stephanie Shinky Justice, if the kids were going to really get into this, and it was amazing because it's great old clothing. I mean, it's really stylish. It's Himmelho, B. Siegel, Hudson's, Bonwit Teller, Serwins. I'm forgetting all the names, but these kids, and there is one boy in the group, just got so into it. They'll be each modeling 4 outfits that evening. We'll have vendors of art and jewelry, as well as a DJ, and light refreshments. It'll be a wine and cheese reception. So I hope you'll support this, and it's $50 for an evening of great entertainment, and we have the support of a couple of local businesses as well. So I want to make sure you are aware of that. Friday the 31st, 7 to 9 p.m., Skyline Club, and all the proceeds go to our Art Improvement Fund, the City of Southfield. Thank you.
Get the tickets from the Lowe's.
I'm sorry?
Get the tickets from the Lowe's.
The tickets can be purchased through PayPal, through my office, or just today we added Zelle. And it's connected to the Friends account.
Budget?
I'm sorry?
And you want to officially give us the budget?
Budget?
Yes. Over the weekend, or last Friday or Thursday, you should have received the budget by city charter. I am required to present that on the first Monday meeting in May. So I've fulfilled the charter requirement. There is a cover letter from the city administrator and myself. And that's the high overview of the budget. And then today, at your desk, you have the budget book. So happy reading. And great to have your questions in advance because it speeds the process. And I know we talked about this before the meeting tonight, that there is a staff meeting in the morning, and the city administrator will let you know the schedule for Wednesday, Thursday, and next Wednesday. All right?
Okay. Thank you. Mr. City Administrator?
Thank you. As the mayor stated, the budget has been distributed. On Wednesday at 6 p.m., we'll start with our finance director just giving us a recap of the fiscal year ending June 30th of 23. We'll do a 9-month review of where we're at in the current fiscal year, primarily data that the Finance Committee sees every month. And then our assessor will give us this kind of the state of the city's tax base. Then we'll follow initially in alphabetical order by department, but I believe the planning department will go first in order to accommodate the requests. And it appears that the court and the Parks and Rec department will be the following Wednesday, and the other departments will be this Thursday. I do unfortunately have to report that we had at Carpenter Lake a fire in the restroom that is under construction. It was not a total loss, the damage, and I'll share with you photos, if not tonight, tomorrow. We should be able to recover rather quickly. It is still being built by the contractor. The police and fire department were incredible. My Parks and Rec director and her staff were there within half hour of having been called. It's unfortunate that this happened, but we believe we'll be able to recover. And when you see the photos, the building had been framed out, the exterior of the building, and they were the rough plumbing had started to go in. The electrician was due in on this past Friday. He did not show, so that was probably a good thing. But I wanted council to know that in the event you hear it from others. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
This was an act of vandalism.
Yes, it was an act of vandalism.
Thank you. Madam Attorney?
Good evening, can you hear me okay?
Good point.
Okay, so what I presented to council is that the city was served with a lawsuit. It's been filed in the federal district court, Eastern District Court for, it's DeAndre Keith Williams versus Southfield police officers Matthew Fair and Officer Hussein Abdallah. This is a case that happened last July. It involved a traffic stop, and eventually the plaintiff was arrested. There were some criminal charges brought against the plaintiff by the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office, and now we have been sued by this individual in the federal court. So I'm requesting authority to take whatever action is necessary to defend the city and its agents or employees in this above cause of action. And if you have any questions, we could talk off record. You can give me a phone call.
What say you, counsel? I need a motion.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move that council authorizes the city attorney to take whatever action is necessary to defend the city and its agents or employees in the case of Dindra Keith Williams versus Officer Matthew Fair and Officer Hussein Abdul.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Banks, supported by Councilman Hicks, to authorize the city attorney to take whatever action is necessary to defend the city and its agents or employees in the mentioned lawsuit. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Council President. Quickly, I just wanted to say that recently I've been getting several offers to really assist in a unified fashion on Election Day. The Southfield Kappas came to me and told me they would like to be poll workers at every poll, which would be really a good thing because they're great representatives of this city, have been very involved politically as an organization, and just having that show of vital men will help provide another layer of perceived security on election days. Also, we have other voter advocacy groups that have approached me that would like to go out to address the public. The My Voice, My Vote, the Voter Disability Council, the Voter Confidence Council. They're interested in going out in the public along with me or without me to educate our public about voting, the voting procedures, early voting, and everything we have going on in this very busy election year. So they can contact the clerk's office at 248-796-5160 or 5150 to arrange that, to come out to speak to groups as well. The Michigan Voter Information Center with the Secretary of State and Jocelyn Benson has engaged Southfield to be a part of a statewide voter confidence council. So we've been having meetings recently along with Hester Wheeler. I'm sure people are familiar with him and his work in the communities. So that's my report for today, and thank you.
Thank you. City treasurer is not here, but I would like to ask that everyone keep the city treasurer and his family in your thoughts and prayers. His father-in-law unfortunately passed away this past Saturday in New York. So if you can't reach him, he will be out of the office with his family for that. We have nothing else for the planner, assessor, engineer, and nothing to schedule. Seeing nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.